All right, guys. Welcome to TRF, the Random Files. I'm your host, Josh Turner. This is TRF. Checking out some of the comments here. It's weird because we have a really good replay on this show. We don't always get a big chat in here up to this point, but on the Paranormal Roundtable show that we do on YouTube, um, we didn't have a big crowd on Wednesday in the chat.
Yeah.
We only had like 200 and something people. I don't know what it was, but we had a lot of people on the replays so far. That was just like what, day before yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
I think we already got like 3,000 views on it. So I guess people are like, well, we don't want to show up in the chat and be a burden, but we're going to watch it later. So that's fine with me. I don't care. If you don't want to be in the chat, don't be in the chat. Just make sure you show up and watch it later. If you got to bounce, then take off and come back. Let's see what we got here. There's several things going on. 1 second. Anna, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you? Is my Ethernet finally working? I hope.
I couldn't understand anything you just said. What?
Is the
What'd you say?
Ethernet finally working? Can you hear me at all
Yeah,
on the mic?
I can hear you, but it wasn't real clear. I mean, I don't think it was you not talking good. I just didn't. The sound wasn't coming through.
Oh, okay. Is it coming through
I
okay
can
now?
barely
Can
hear
everybody
you.
hear me?
But
Yeah.
can the audience
I
hear
don't know
her?
what the deal is with that. Let me hang on,
That
let me go
sounds
to the
better
audio.
there. Hold on, that sounds
Yeah.
better.
Does it? Okay. Maybe I just
Yeah,
need to
like when
turn
you
the
were
volume
right up
up
on the
this thing.
Maybe
microphone.
turn the gain up on your mic. There should be a gain knob on that Blue Yeti.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Ooh,
whenever I
oh
use it,
Lord.
I turn it all the way up.
How's that?
I think that's
Way
better.
better?
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, how's it
The
going, guys?
important thing is that the audience can hear you fine, so
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah.
but if I can't hear you, then it's not going to be a good show because we're not going to be. I'm not going to know
Right.
what you're saying. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so
Um,
let's start with this. Before we do anything else, there are people out there, okay, and I'm going to say this on Facebook and other platforms who think that Fauci is a good guy, and they are fighting for this guy, and they say that he. Let me show you something really quick, and then we'll get into our main subject here. I just couldn't believe it, dude. This is crazy. This isn't a joke. Look at this. I'll be
I wonder
nice
if we
and
can open up places for these people.
block out this woman's name here. An American hero. Look at that. Oh, you can't really. It's blurred out for some reason.
Hang on, hold it. Let me focus it. There
There
it
it
is.
is. That rat-faced little weasel.
yeah.
And so I looked at this woman's Facebook, and I was like, "Holy crap, dude! She's like the left of the left. I mean, she is just a nut job." And there are people who think that he's a hero. I can't believe that. I can't wrap my mind around that. I'm still trying to come to terms with what he did. I mean, I've been trying to come to terms with it for years, and it is so crazy what this guy did and what he helped to perpetrate on us. And people are like, he's a hero in my household. You should. I'm not going to waste time with it tonight, but tomorrow night on Rumble, the real Random Files will be on Rumble tomorrow. I'm going to read you some of the insane comments off of
Mm-hmm.
that post and a couple others. I sent it to you on message.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't have a chance to actually click on it yet and look, but I saw what you said. So I need to look.
It's freaking it's unreal. So tonight though we're talking. What do we got? What is the subject tonight? Something about the space program.
Yeah, secret space program. So I know this might not be the current events that we've normally been talking about lately, but I mean technically it's still current events because it's something that's really going on in our world and it's been on my mind for a while, so that's why I brought it up to you as a topic for tonight that I wanted to get into. It's something I've been studying for, oh geez, like 10 plus years. And I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but with all of this UFO disclosure going on and Trump really pushing for that, you stop and think, what are they really up to here? Because it's not very often that our government is doing things for truly altruistic reasons just because they, just love us and really want us to have
No,
this information. So,
but
yeah,
if you're on the right, and your guy is in office, and the government is doing things that are the good things, right?
right.
Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
They could light you
Yeah.
on fire. You'd be like, I needed this. There were parasites on me that the fire is
Yeah.
cleansing.
I had a
Yeah.
mosquito.
The left is even worse. If their person's in power,
Yeah.
they'll be like, we got to march you off to camps to delouse you. Well, we got to
Yeah.
get rid of we got to go because
Yeah.
our guy said so. I've never
Yeah.
seen a group of people so eager to run themselves into the camps and do it. The left was nuts during that
Yeah.
whole thing, calling people and getting people in trouble. And I
Well,
had somebody try to pull me over during that when it was in 2020. Yeah,
what happened?
he just followed me for like 3 or 4 miles with this little orange light on his car, and I knew he wasn't a cop. So when I got to the job site where I was headed to check on somebody, in fact, I think it was Tony. I wasn't going to check. I think we were dropping him some food or something, and it was me and Anthony and Nellie, I think, or maybe me and Anthony. I don't remember who all was with. There was a couple people with me. I know Anthony was one of them. And this person gets out and tries to at the job site and tries to tell me that they have the units are on the way because I wasn't masked up and that I was in a store that they were in and that I was coughing and they're just making stuff up. I wasn't in no store. I was in Home Depot. This guy says I was in there coughing and doing all this stuff. No, I wasn't. I was like, no, I
Yeah.
wasn't. What is wrong with you, dude? So then I called the police on this guy, and then when the police were when they were pulling in, he drove out real quick. And then I told him what he did, and one of them took off after him, and the other one stayed with us. And they talked to me, and I just told them what happened. It was a cop. I think it was Pflugerville police officer. And I told him, I said, that guy he just followed me for like 3 miles out of Austin and to Round Rock and into Pflugerville, and it was nuts. Like who does that? Like it is the most. This guy, he looked like Dennis Rader, like the
BTK.
BTK guy, and I was like,
Probably
dude,
had the same control complex that Dennis Rader had. He really
He's
liked to control people.
he had that look like that. He had the glasses. Where are my glasses? Let's put my glasses on quick. I'll do a reenactment of this guy. It was nuts. This is what we were dealing with over here.
Dennis Rader, he was like, I forget.
He was a serial
What
killer.
was he?
He gets out.
Well,
He
no,
goes.
I know, but his profession, he did something where he like went around, and he was
He was a
really
police
lorded
officer.
over people.
He was a police. He
Yeah.
was sheriff's department. That's what he
Yeah,
did right
but he
now.
was one of those. Yeah, but he was one of those officers that really liked to lord it over people and be a little pencil pusher and tell everybody what to do. And
He's like, I will have you know that I have followed you. I said, yeah, for about 4 miles, 3 miles. Yes, however long it takes, I'm going to. We were at it was Lowe's. That's what it was. Because we were at the Lowe's, and you were coughing and wheezing. You were on your phone, and you weren't wearing a mask. And he had the mask on, And I
alone in his
I
car.
was like, dude, what is wrong with this guy? And then when he got in his car, he took his mask off. That's when I saw the little weird Dennis Rader mustache. So when the police show up, I said, dude, this is insane. This guy followed us. Because around here, there wasn't a lot of regulation. Like there was no mandate. You had to stay in your house. I heard from so many people around the country and in other countries, they were like, we're in our house. My friend was in Sri Lanka. He got stuck there. He's from there. I grew up with this guy. He got trapped there when he went back to visit his grandmother. And when they came out of their house, they got hit with bamboo rods, dude. I'm not even joking. They hit him. They didn't hit him, but they hit people. and they
Wow.
threatened to hit him, and they would hit him in their shins. They weren't just caning him to death, but they were, he said they were beating people with sticks. Stay in your house. Stay in your house. Don't go out. You had a 3-hour window, and they had it, done actually a little better than they did in most places where they had groups like group A, B, C. Then you could go out to the market for 3 hours or whatever. And it was just nuts. It was a nutty time. We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, but luckily we escaped the BTK, and you know,
Yeah, and those people, the really scary part is they weren't just ready to run themselves off the cliff. They were the personality types where they wanted to force everybody else, they wanted to bash everybody over the head about it, they wanted to guilt trip, and they wanted to encourage authorities to force it on others and to completely take away free choice, freedom of speech, all of it. They were willing to toss it totally out the window, and they were the type that would be very happy to load people on boxcars. You
they
know what I
were,
mean? Yeah.
and they were calling on people, and they were just the left was insane with it. They were just
Oh yeah.
ate up with it, just eating up with it, and going out and getting 15 shots and boosters and whatever, and it was just
Yeah.
nutty. It was a nutty time.
Yeah, my favorite were the pool noodle hats. Do you remember those? At some of the establishments, they were making people wear these hats that had the 6-foot pool noodles sticking out in 4 directions so that they would stay 6 feet apart from each
I don't
other.
think
They
I
had them
remember
at some
that.
restaurants. Yeah, they had them on I remember there were some restaurants where they would seat people on patios and they would make people wear those to dine there.
And
So
they
we had
asked
we
they
had a
asked
time.
Ratface Boy, they asked him, and he was just like, "I played the bit, I played the bit, I played it." For every question,
Yeah, and he's been
for every.
pardoned.
hmm
Yeah,
So
yeah,
now
it's
he's in
ridiculous.
contempt.
Hmm.
But that's nothing. I mean, like people are like, who's going to be in trouble? Dude, do you understand how it works? They don't understand how the law works, how court works. Nothing's going to happen to this guy.
No.
Nothing.
They're above the law.
Nothing will happen. When I say nothing, folks, believe me, nothing's going to happen to him.
The law is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
they
plus
enforce
he's
the law.
their golden child, so yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We've
But let's
already
get
seen that
started. Go ahead,
nothing's gonna
Anna.
happen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think probably most of our audience has heard about the secret space program, but I'll just give kind of a very brief rundown for those that haven't. I won't go super well, I kind of will go in depth with it to a certain extent. You could it's such an in-depth thing that you could easily do like a 4-hour show on it. So I'm just gonna go more into sort of the basic framework of what's going on. But for those who aren't aware, when I say secret space program, I'm not talking about like, oh, NASA has an offshoot and they're like sending up some rockets that we don't know about. No, 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 my friends. The secret space program involves an entire program where they have technology in these black budgets, behind sealed doors, reverse engineered technology, anti-gravitical craft. Potentially, there's a lot of reports where they can even like do crazy stuff like jumping through portals and time travel and all kinds of things. But just to stick to the more concrete stuff, definitely anti-gravity craft. And that the secret space program, there are bases on the dark side of the moon, that they are doing literal trade routes throughout the solar system, and that this program has been running for a long, long time. And the reason that we know about this, it's not just random conjecture or a bunch of whistleblowers that we just kind of, that are like, oh, trust me, bro. I mean, those do exist. But no, the reason we know about this is actually because there was a gentleman in Britain. He doesn't really consider himself a hacker, but they all called him a hacker, and it was considered one of the biggest security breaches in history. And his name's Gary McKinnon, and he was this computer whiz, and he wound up breaking into it wasn't NASA, it was the U.S. Department of Defense. That's what it was. And he had been running this campaign privately, like, hacking into all these different computer systems to look around, but he wasn't one of these malicious hackers where he wanted to spread chaos. He actually kind of had altruistic intentions. He said his real goal was to uncover how the government was suppressing free energy technology because he felt like the public should be aware of that because of how much good it would do for humanity. And he knew that these people were corrupt and they were hiding it from us. So that was his mission. But what he stumbled across was far more interesting than just free energy technology. And so for a year, he's hacking into all these databases, and it's just kind of boring stuff, like just nothing of note. But then one day, he logs into an administrator account on the U.S. Department of Defense, and the crazy part is, he said, I didn't really hack into it. It was like an open network with an. Oh, and by the way, I should mention this was back in. He was arrested in 2002, and I believe he hacked into it in 2001. So this was kind of the early days of the internet, and apparently cybersecurity was definitely not what it is now. And this is probably part of why it's improved so much because it freaked the government out so much what happened. But he said, I didn't really have to hack into it. It was just an administrator account and it had a blank password. I just logged in. And so he's snooping around in there, and he comes across these spreadsheets and data logs. And it was titled Project Solar Warden. So kind of like a solar system guardian is the image that would invoke. And he said on these spreadsheets, it had a list of non-terrestrial officers, was specifically what it was titled. And he said that it had, he couldn't remember if it had names, but it definitely had their ranks, and that it consisted of 8 aircraft carrier-sized, cigar-shaped vessels that were orbiting up in space, and 43 scout ships, and that they all belonged to the United States. And obviously, these were anti-gravity craft. These were not traditional, shoot a rocket up kind of thing. Uh, and apparently, this had been going on since like the 1980s. Like they've had this secret space program with this super advanced light years ahead technology since at least the 1980s. And the reports are that it goes back far further than that, like at least the 1960s. And if you think about it, like with the crash of Roswell and stuff like that, they've had a long time to reverse engineer a lot of this technology and potentially even directly receive some of this technology from some of these species that the government allegedly has worked with. And so that's a good couple of decades for them to be, building up some really advanced tech. So even going back to the 80s, apparently we've had these fleets of ships. And if you think about, like, gee, why have we never gone back to the moon? That's really strange. And why did they magically just like tape over all the footage and lose all the technology? It's really weird, don't you think? And to me, I think to myself, well, yeah, they probably don't want to show us, going back to the moon because they don't want us to know there's an entire space fleet up there and an entire secret space program going on. Um, and you even look back to Ronald Reagan. He openly talked about how concerned he
I
was about.
totally lost
Oh,
what
am
you
I
just
cutting
said
out?
there. Yeah,
Oh, what happened? Okay, how far back do I need to
you're
go?
pixelated too.
Oh, okay.
um, maybe a
I'm on
couple of
I'm on
minutes.
Ethernet too. Oh, a couple of minutes?
No,
Maybe. I
no,
mean,
it
like
was
a
like,
minute. Well, at this point, yeah. I mean, it's 2 or 3 minutes. You got to go back a little bit. Go ahead and just
Oh, okay,
repeat
okay,
what you were saying.
okay. Did you catch the part about that we've had the space fleet since like the 1980s?
Yeah, just go right after that.
Okay, all right. So, trying to think of what I went into after that. Oh, I went into it kind of makes sense why we haven't gone back to the moon. Everyone's like, why in the world, why haven't we gone back to the moon? And it's really odd how NASA just magically taped over all of the footage and somehow just lost all of the technology and said, oh, well, we can't go back, we lost it. Oops. To me, that indicates, well, they don't want us to know what's really up there. And that's probably a high likelihood of why they haven't wanted to at least publicly go back to the moon. We're already on the moon, in other words. And there's actually some really good footage online too that I've come across of some cigar-shaped craft crossing over the surface of the moon. And this was from long before AI or a lot of the digital editing came about, and it was an amateur astronomer that was filming out of a telescope in the middle of the day. and he was filming the surface of the moon. And Wolf, I don't know if you've seen this footage. I may have even sent it to you a long time ago. I'm not sure. But it's like a fleet of silver, gigantic cigar-shaped craft that are crossing over the surface of the moon. You can see their giant shadows um, down on the surface, and they must be, it looks like they're moving slow on the film, but based on the amount of surface they're crossing, they must have been going incredibly fast. So, and people report seeing activity, amateur astronomers report seeing activity up there all the time. Um, so, oh, and that was the other thing I mentioned. Reagan used to talk about, he would allude to how, well, he pretty much actually came out and said it, how concerned he was about a threat from outer space and how he felt that it would bring all people together if we had a common enemy from space. And, you know, and he had a Star Wars program. My dad is a mechanical engineer, and he actually did some work on Reagan's Star Wars program, which I won't go into the details of everything he built, but it's really interesting. Um, so now you, well, going back to Gary McKenna and what happened to him. Um, so he's looking at all of these spreadsheets with all of these non-terrestrial personnel and officers, and on top of that, there was information in there about uh, transfer of like supplies from ship to ship. And it was very clear that it was talking about craft that were not on Earth, but that were belonged to us. So he said it was this victorious moment, like, oh my gosh, I finally found this giant, you know, stash of secret information. And that suddenly he saw the mouse cursor go bloop down to the corner of the screen. And he went, oh crap, they caught me. And he said, well, I thought I was in the system after hours, but I was going into systems all over the world. And so I might have mixed up the time zones, or maybe somebody was just working after hours. But he saw them right click and exit out. And then, sure enough, I don't know exactly how long after that, but they managed to hunt him down and arrest him. And there's a lot to it, but long story short, he said he felt that they were definitely trying to make an example out of him. Based not even as much on what he did as much as what he saw. And so they were planning on extraditing him to the United States, and he was facing 70 years, 70.
Where was he
for
at
that.
when he saw all this?
He was in Great Britain.
And he
So
was
he's
from the
a
United
British
States?
guy. No, he's a British guy.
Then
He's got a
how,
thick British
why is
accent
the United States have jurisdiction to go after a British citizen?
because he hacked into the US Department of Defense.
Mm.
That's where he found this database. So it was US non-terrestrial officers and it was US craft that he was looking at. And it was this thing called Project Solar Warden. And what Project Solar Warden basically is it is our defense system against, it sounds really sci-fi, but against like intergalactic threats, you know, against alien threats. Uh,
Well, they're not
and
doing a very good job.
yeah, yeah. And then, of course, there's no definitive evidence of this other than some of the recent disclosures. But you know, it's rumored that we're actually working with a lot of these species and doing trade with them. That we actually literally have trade routes with these craft that we they can travel immense distances. And then a bunch of other technology that just a lot of whistleblowers I've listened to that have been involved in some of these black budget programs, they say, look, pretty much any technology that you can dream up that sci-fi that seems magical and impossible to you, they already have. We already have it. And if you think about it, it's totally logical and advantageous that the government would not release these things for a number of reasons. For one thing, it's a great way to control the population. It's you know, the analogy would be like you encounter a remote Amazonian tribe that's never seen any form of technology or advancement whatsoever before, and you just flick on a big lighter, and they're going to think that you have that. Oh, you're a wizard! You have magical powers. So that's kind of what our government's doing to us in a lot of ways. And they can also use these anti-gravity craft to pretend to be extraterrestrial themselves, even though I totally believe there actually are extraterrestrial craft as well. But if they want to scare the crap out of us and get us all on board with whatever it is that they're planning to do, that would certainly be an effective way to do it. But one of the other primary reasons, I think, is simply the fossil fuel industry. And Wolf, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but from what I've heard, there's actually more oil reserves in the planet than there is ocean water. Is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
it would
So,
be. Oh, sorry. If they took it out, if they extracted it.
yeah,
But there's also a giant ocean within the Earth that's bigger than our ocean on the
yeah,
surface.
yeah, true. So,
Fresh and salt water. There are fresh and salt waters.
yeah, and they can not only make a fortune on forever charging us for fossil fuels and perpetuating that industry. But on top of that, any pollution that comes from us or from it, they can guilt trip us into controlling us through the whole, carbon footprint, carbon tax narrative, which they're already doing. And then on top of that, all of these wars that they conduct that often have to do with oil, they can continue to perpetuate and use that as the excuse. So of course they're not going to tell us that they have anti-gravity technology already and all of these advanced craft, and that we could all be powering our homes and our whatever kind of vehicle or craft without fossil fuels. They do not want people to know that. So they definitely want to keep this under wraps. So I think when it comes to UFO disclosure, the majority of American people believe in alien life, and they definitely believe that these craft in the sky are largely that there's something really going on. It's not fake. There's no longer as much of this stigma with it that the media used to push. And it's so obvious because, in the past, the media made fun of it for decades. They tried to make anyone who brought it up feel stupid. Oh, little green men. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, they start legitimizing it and then releasing more and more and more. And now there's this huge drop. And I think, or information drops. And I think to any logical person, we've been watching this and going, they're definitely gearing up for something. There's something going on here. And I don't know if they're trying to get ahead of it, because eventually we're going to find out that they have this secret space program. Maybe they know there's something incoming that's going to eventually present itself. Maybe it's going to be the whole false alien invasion narrative. And so they're gearing up for that. It could be a plethora of different things. But yeah, there's this entire secret space program, and a lot of it, I think, also has to do with these elites and their obsession with a breakaway civilization. They seem to feel that it's almost like that movie Elysium. I don't know if you've seen that, but where they want to reduce the population, and I don't know if they know something's coming. Maybe it's that like asteroid Apophis. Maybe they're planning on that hitting in a few years, but they're all building their underground bunkers. And I mean, in the Bible, it does say that the rich men and the kings of the earth will all go underground. And it certainly seems like the current rich men and kings of the earth are all planning to go underground. So it's a little worrisome. It makes you wonder what they know that we don't. But they also have these plans where they want to merge with technology and become immortal and go off world and colonize other planets. And so I have no doubt that this whole secret space program has something to do with that as well. And I can go into more, but Wolf, I don't know if you want to jump in with anything
No,
you
go
know
ahead.
about
You're
this
doing
whole
fine.
topic. Oh, okay. Okay. Um, and then I'm sure our listeners have heard about this too, but there's also the whole theory that the moon itself, uh, and you may have probably discussed this on PRT even, but that the moon itself is a hollow craft or vessel or transmitter of some kind. And there's scientific evidence to actually support this theory. It's not like, I'm just pulling it out of my backside. There's a lot of legitimate scientists that actually say that there's something to this. That the shape of the moon being so perfect, the positioning of it being so perfect, especially in alignment with solar eclipse, the way it perfectly covers the sun, the odds of that are pretty astronomical, if not impossible. And then and the tidal lock positioning, where we never see the dark side of the moon. And then there's the whole thing where what did they do? They sent up something. It was either when like a shuttle hit the surface, or they sent up something to intentionally create a vibrational wave, and they said that the entire moon rang like a bell for
Bell.
hours.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it was hollow, basically. That's the only way
Yeah.
they could really describe it. So you have that as well. Um, and the theory being that there was some force, some hyper intelligent, technologically advanced force that in the very, very distant past, millions, however many millions of years ago, moved it into place. And an interesting thing to me about that theory is that there are a lot of ancient stories from various cultures spanning the whole world that talk about how the earth used to be covered in a dense mist in the early history of mankind, or in the early history of the planet. And they'll have different stories. Like, I think there's an African tribe that talks about two brothers that rolled the moon into place, and then the first rains ever came. And I've heard some other stories. I mean, like I said, I've been researching this for so long that things kind of blend together after like more than a decade of looking into stuff. So I'm sorry, I can't remember all the specifics, but I know that there are other cultures that have stories about it. And that once the moon was put into place, this meant this mist that covered the whole planet, the tide started, and it started the weather patterns where it condensed, and it was the first rainfall, and those weather systems began. So it just makes you think, it just makes you wonder about stuff. And like I said, people constantly see activity on the moon. What are those what are they called? Pigeon things or something? What do they call
The
those?
what?
There's something where people constantly see like little lights on it. Somebody in the comments will probably know. People constantly see like little explosions of
Yeah, I know
light
what you're
or
talking
smoke and
about.
light. But they have a name, moon pigeons. I think that's what they call them, moon pigeons.
I
So
want to
they're
address something very quickly. So Justin Springton
Mhm.
says, I miss PRT. We were, we just dropped an episode, a pre-record last night, the Diary of the Future. So
Mhm.
Justin, I don't know what if you're trolling me or what. Justin, I'm pretty sure you're a regular listener. I mean, he says, yeah, it's definitely not conspiracy slop. I don't know what you're getting at when you miss PRT, because I mean it's been one day. We'll be back. We'll be back on
Going
Sunday.
through withdrawal. You can't go without crack for over a day.
So I appreciate that, but this is I don't. It's kind of weird thing to say, but we'll be back on Sunday, Justin, and we'll be talking. He goes, I was PRT daily. Okay, but yeah, and I was thinking
Yeah.
about doing a potluck where we do a few different things, because we got the summer ween coming up in August. So if anybody's interested in that,
Yeah.
like I said, it's
I-
weird. We're not getting Wednesdays aren't getting like really big. Not getting very big uh, chats, but we're getting a lot of people going back and watching it afterwards. It seems like summertime kind of does that too, but we've also been, I believe, kind of messed with on all of our channels.
Oh
But
yeah.
then I
Yeah.
would be aggravated more than I am if it wasn't happening to so many of our friends too, because
Yeah.
so many of our friends are being hit with, and it is weird. Like they pull our people back somehow, they peel it back, and people say, well, I'm being unsubscribed to the shows. I'm being, not getting my notification bell. And then just to let people understand this is like people saying that they're not being seen, or heard. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. And then Mystical Wonderland says, I'm blocked on the live chat. I don't know who blocked you. Justin, I didn't think you were. I was kind of joking. I know you're a regular. That's why I was just wondering why you said that. But just in case, if anybody's not understanding what's going on, and people have said things, but I thought maybe we were getting, picked out, or whatever. But I think it's happening to a lot of people. It's happening to a lot of channels. I've seen a lot of complaining, and then they come out with this new system where you can give jewels. I don't know if you guys have seen that. I don't know. You probably could do it here
Yeah.
too, but you can give away jewels and it counts like as money, but they take your monetization, like, and then they come up with that weird stuff. So I don't know what that is, but anyways, we'll be on Rumble tomorrow with Anna, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the vid. and some other
Yeah.
things. I got a few things to say about that. I want to say something really quickly on here. What is Anna's? So I had to private message somebody, messaged me, Augustine. He's always messaged me during the show. Augie, you do it every time, but then that's okay. That's okay. He's an experiencer who's given me his experiences. But he says, where does it say in the Bible? Well, I'm going to tell you where it says in the Bible. I know this one. It's Revelations. It's Revelation 6:15 through 17. Revelation. It says that, and the kings of the earth. I don't have it memorized, but it says that these great rich men basically hide themselves in the mountains. It says that. Go look it up. Revelation 15 through 17, and it says they ask the mountains and the rocks to cover them, and they are afraid for the one, the Most High, who sits on the throne. That's God, and they are terrified, and they know that they will be judged by the Lamb. They'll be judged by Christ, and I don't know exactly. I think it says something like the anger of the Lamb or the wrath of the Lamb, which is Jesus,
Yeah.
because when Jesus comes back, he's not nice, and it says he will kill with his words, not in 15:70, but it says that. And that his tongue is like a sword. That means he's going to give the orders, you know?
And I have actually read through the whole book more than once, so I should know this. But it's been a while in my defense. I could be totally wrong on this. Somebody can correct me in the chat. I feel like when it says that, it corresponds with wormwood, which sounds like it's some kind of asteroid or something that impacts, and it
It's in there,
poisons
but
the
it's not.
waters
It's
or something.
yeah. There's a whole lot of bad stuff. The time of sorrows and all
Yeah.
this other stuff that goes on.
But
You go back and
but when
reread
they
it, and you and
go,
I can go through that. We'll actually do a show about it, and I can
oh, I'd
decipher
love
something
to. I would love to.
because
I'm so fascinated.
some of it is
I
not. Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
the only thing I was gonna say regarding all of that is just that I'm pretty sure that it says when it implies they go underground or they ask for the mountains and rocks to cover them, it says something about them being driven out by thirst. And I could be cross remembering because I've read the book of Enoch as well, and there's some similar prophetic stuff in there regarding all of that. So I could be wrong. Like I said, someone can correct me, but I'm pretty sure it says something about them being driven out by thirst.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember like right off the top of my head. Um, I mean, we can, like I said, I can go back and refresh it and reread it.
Yeah. You know, this is totally off topic, but I'm just going to toss this out there really quick because otherwise it'll evaporate from my brain and I'll never think of it again. But I was thinking the other day, I was talking to somebody and somehow randomly this came up and we were discussing the mark of the beast. And, I've always thought like it'll be an implant, injection, a invisible tattoo, something of that nature, what most people think. But I sat there and I thought about it and I was like, wait a second, we all hold our phone usually in our right hand, and the information from it goes straight into our forehead. And I thought to myself, I wonder if it could be any kind of a reference to that, because somebody from that period of time, how would they describe something like a smartphone, a gateway like that to I don't know. It's just something that crossed my mind. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
Well, if you take the number 666,
Hmm.
and I've said this before, the book of Revelation was written on the Isle of Patmos
Hmm.
by John. And John, when he was locked up, he wrote it in ancient Greek text. And he was able to slip it by the Roman guards who 80% of the Roman guards were not, or Roman centurions were not literate. They couldn't even read or write Latin, which is their formal language, much less Greek. So all of Greek, the alphabet corresponds to numbers. Numbers correspond to the. So if you take the number 666, it actually spells Nero Caesar,
Hmm.
which would have been someone who was coming. At the time, it would have been, so people, it's not necessarily correct. There's a time gap there. Like, okay, so this is John, and there is an argument about who John is. So let's go back real quick. We'll get into this. John, of the book of Revelation, a lot of people think he's one of the apostles. He is a disciple, one of the 12, the original. Right? Now, to be an apostle, you had to have seen Jesus return as the resurrection. See, now, then there was this, I think the Mandela effect is a real thing because it affects how the Bible reads and all this other stuff. Because the way I was taught was that not all of the disciples saw him. So they're not all apostles. And there were others that were apostles that were not disciples. Now, there is an argument I got into online, and somebody said, no, that's not correct. All the disciples were apostles. And I'm like, that. So I'm not going to get into all of that because I know Paul, Apostle Paul, he was an apostle. He was not a disciple, right? He was an apostle because Jesus came to him on the road to, was it the road to Damascus, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And said, hey, why are you being such a person that you are?
Yeah.
And Paul's like, well, because I'm one of those 6-pointed guys. And he's like, well, you shouldn't be those guys. You should be, follow me, follow the cross.
His name,
So
his name was Saul at the time, right?
Saul,
And then
yeah.
it changed to Paul,
So
yeah.
what happens with this guy on Patmos? A lot of people say, well, it was written at the time of Nero Caesar. I don't really believe that. And one reason is, okay, there is a discrepancy there because if he wrote that, that takes like, you're going to pass that off. And you're basically saying, like back then, it was common to just look up the Greek alphabet and use it to decipher numbers and so and so. It was a different time. That'd be like me being in Guantanamo Bay, and I write, Trump is an evil piece of crap, and I just write it in Spanish, and hope that the guards can't read and write Spanish. But somebody's going to read and write Spanish, and they're going to be like, hello. Because think about it, folks. He wrote it in ancient Greek, and it was Patmos, which is in Greece. So somebody there is going to read that and go, oh, it's just talking about our Lord, Nero. And they always have to have a British accent.
Yeah, of course.
They always
And then-
do every.
But can
every
you
movie.
believe this? And they're like, what's wrong with this knobhead? Who is this? Who is this guy? He goes back to the Roman soldiers. They're sleeping on their spears. What? What are you doing, you wanker? You let this guy write all these things about Nero, who's not exactly the nicest guy. Well, it couldn't read it. I didn't know what it said. I don't even read Latin, man. Well, maybe you should learn.
Don't read Latin.
2 slaps of the glove to your face.
He doesn't even read Latin.
This man.
Ignorant fool.
So then he goes and he, this is a legate. He's probably higher up, and he says, this is ridiculous. This man's talking about Nero. So it wouldn't make sense to write that and then go, here you go, guys, kind of just slip that through, with some help. Still, if you get caught, that is it. So I don't think that he was the contemporary. I think Augustus, and this is the problem. I argued with these people online, and they said, that was John. And I said, yes, John the apostle. No, John the disciple, John. That was one of the disciples. So there's a huge debate about it, argument saying that they think it was John the disciple. There's a small contingency of people who say that it probably wasn't, and I'm one of those because they said it was his clear contemporary. No, because if it was Augustus, Nero wasn't even born yet. Nero was still what would have been at the end of Augustus's reign, another decade or so. I guess it was something like that. It would have been, and then there was Tiberius, and then Claudius, and then Caligula. It would have been Tiberius, Caligula, and then there would have been Claudius, and then Nero, because Agrippina was his mother. Right. So you have this weird, okay, so how in the heck there's so many emperors down the line there? But I think it was a prophecy that was aimed at the beast, which was Nero. Now, people say, well, that doesn't make sense because yes, it does. Because people don't realize what Nero did because it's so long ago that it's not something that's fresh in our minds. It was, 1800 years ago. Nobody's going to remember that 1900 years ago, whatever. So he killed a massive amount of Christians.
He was sick.
He was sick. He even dressed up in skins, and they called him the Beast. And he waged war on Britain. He did all these crazy things. and he even devoured people's genitals. He had a man that looked like his ex-wife who he had murdered in a fit of drunken
Yeah.
rage, and he had the guy that there was a young boy. He had him castrated, and made him marry him. He was a sicko. He made Caligula look like a choir boy, and Caligula was like Jeffrey Dahmer on steroids. I mean, these people were sick out of their minds, sick, and so this is what they did, right? And so whenever they talk about this, they said you cannot do business, you cannot buy or sell grain or whatever without the mark of the beast on your hand or your forehead. And guess what? Guess what? The time of the barter system, at that time, the barter system, you had to have the stamp or the image of the beast, of Nero, on your forehead. When you went to the market, you had to stand in line and get a stamp, or you had to get it on your hand, on your right hand. Yeah. So tell me that's not that he's telling us who the beast is. But if you read on through Revelation, it goes into something else, like something later, something
Yeah.
further down.
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
and
Roman system, hold on one second. The Roman system was set up and built to become the system that we know of today. The European Union is the recreation of it. It is the castrated bride of Nero. I'm telling you, this is something I want to write about at some point because I want to go real deep into this. Because at one time they asked Netanyahu, and he says, "I'm fighting Rome," right? But the Jewish war, and if you read Josephus and you look at Masada and everything that happened, they were fighting with themselves and they were fighting their own Romanness because Herod once said that the greatest thing about the occupation was to become Roman. So that's this weird obsequiousness that he had about him, that they all kind of carried that, wanting to be what you desire, the antichristal spirit and evil, and accepting it and adorning it upon your own soul. And then they kind of parade it around and say, well, we're fighting against you. You're fighting in the flesh, but you're not fighting in the spirit. That's this, so there's this weird sort of symbiotic relationship that developed between the Romans and the Jews, and they became one. Because Josephus was considered a very prominent Roman historian who wrote about the Jewish war, and he didn't write it with any kind of, oh, poor us, no, he was like, yeah, well, you get out of line, that's what happens. What in the hell are you talking about, dude? People don't even look at that. They don't look at how you become the beast. And I think they've done a damn good job of doing that. I think that they have accepted that role wholeheartedly. But to destroy the Roman soul is a totally different thing, because that was transformed by who? By Christ. So they become something completely different. The Romans became Christian. And there is the split between the church, the original church, and the new one. The bride of Christ is not the bride of Nero. You see what I'm saying? And now we've come full circle, and the bride of Christ has been knocked away and just completely graped. And now you have the bride of Nero return, the castrated man. I'm telling you, this is all a spiritual war, and everybody, they don't see it for what it is. And, and hey, what's up? That's Rivosk, the Nephilim bloodlines. Yeah. And you have the Nephilim bloodlines at work, just like he said, like there's the Nephilim bloodlines. That's a very important thing because it runs through the land of Canaan. And those bloodlines are very alive. And those are the people that accept the other. If you know what that is, you know what that is. Anyways, I didn't mean to co-opt it, but that goes off into a whole. That's why the book of Revelation is very important. There's others too, from the apocryphals that we should get into.
Yeah. Well, that actually kind of brings it full circle because, going back to like the secret space program stuff, what's alleged to be a large part of this program is that they're looking for people with certain abilities and certain bloodlines and certain DNA to become these super soldiers and to join this program. and there's a whole thing called the 20 and back program. There's no like definitive evidence for it other than a lot of people that say that they participated in it. And I'm not going to go down that whole rabbit hole. It would take a million years, but just to give people a quick rundown that aren't familiar, um, they say that basically they have the technology where they will recruit somebody and they'll say, if you will serve in this secret program for 20 years, we will then, I don't know how this would work, but we will regress you back to your original age when your service is complete. And there's a lot of people that say they participated. So, who's to say one way or the other? But it's pretty odd that so many people would just like so many articulate, seemingly grounded, logical people would just completely make it up. But some of them have been proven to be not very reputable. I won't name names. So
Well, that's why they release those people to
right.
pollute the waters. Yeah, that's what they
Yeah,
do. They'll have
little
one truth
yeah,
teller have their legs
yeah,
taken out underneath them by somebody who's up there just lying or telling
yeah.
half truths. Yeah.
The Corey Good types and stuff like that.
Corey
Yeah,
Goods, prime example.
yeah, little drops of poison in the water so people think it's all complete bunk. And it does sound like, guys, for any of you that aren't familiar with this and you're listening to this and going, this sounds completely bonkers. Believe me, like I'm a very logical, evidence-based person, and even though I believe in a lot of wild stuff, I'm actually at heart a skeptic. Like I need quite a bit of, at the very least, a pretty overwhelming amount of circumstantial evidence. And when I research something, I dive really, really deep into it. I try not to just
Oh,
totally
you
skim
do.
the surface. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you've
probably why
given
I'm
me
sitting here on
books.
the show, right?
Yeah, you've given
What
me
was that?
books, and I'm like, I don't have time to even read all of what you say. You used to,
Yeah.
in particular, it used to be very, and don't get too, because then they'll be, calling you one of my disciples, and they'll go after you like they did Monica Rollins. They'll be like, "Oh, she's one of your disciples. Oh, let me tell you something." And the Dennis Raiders will
No,
come out.
no. We've just been friends a long time. We're
Yeah,
just very like-minded and fate crossed our paths. So. Um, but going back to the DNA thing and the Nephilim bloodline, I was just going to touch on that briefly as related to this. If they're looking for these people with these special abilities that are part of this bloodline, and this ties back into the Bible too, but I think that's part of what the whole like 23andMe testing and all of that is. Like I've never done it. I
gathering
would love
data.
to. Yeah, I would love to know what mine is, but I've known better. I've known there's something fishy about this, and so I've never done it. Unfortunately, I have another member of my family that has, actually I have two members of my family that have, and so it probably doesn't matter. They already have that information. But I think that's what's going on. I think they're looking for something. And
They
on
are.
top of that, of course, like criminal databases and stuff like that. But I think there's something more to it. And supposedly I've heard again from people, that are whistleblowers and stuff that say they are looking for this Nephilim bloodline DNA, remnants of it.
Mhm.
Um, and they like to recruit people into these different programs that have this unique DNA. Uh, yeah, there's weird stuff going on. And then it ties back into the Bible too, because I constantly have, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. That's so true. And when it talks about the days of Noah, people always picture a very ancient, primitive time. I'm personally of the belief that I think things were a bit more advanced than people realized back then, and a
Yeah.
lot of the
Oh yeah.
evidence of that was wiped out. Yeah.
I
And
think
I
it
always
was
found it,
actually the end of an era.
yeah, exactly. And I always find it very interesting because when it said that Noah and his family were saved, it said something to the effect of he was pure in all his generations. And I think a lot of Christians take that to mean like, oh, he was a really good man, he was really pure. I don't take it that way. I take it to mean his DNA was of some bloodline that whatever
That's exactly
warned him
what it
about the
was.
flood,
The
yeah, like
Oliud,
wanted to preserve.
the Nephilim, the Nephilim, all of that was not in him. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I want to say this to real quick. Tiger Uppercut says, now I want to look into who is documenting the crazy things. Okay, Suetonius, the 12 Caesars. Go look him up. And Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger, those two. And I can give you a list to go back and read. There's multiples. I did a whole show about how they said Jesus, you couldn't prove that Jesus was whatever, but it says there is a Roman record of a man who was crucified, named Jesus. And they didn't say Christ, they said he was Jesus, the Jewish Messiah, claiming that he was the Jewish Messiah, that he was the Messiah, right? And I went into a whole thing about where you could find it and who, whatever. And they literally have a record of the governor. Everybody knows who that is, Pontius Pilate, right?
Yeah.
And he says that he gave the permission. He doesn't say he gave the orders. Like he says he gave the permission to the council of the Sanhedrin or whatever they were calling themselves at the time. It was something else. It was something to that effect. So he gave the permission to the council to have him executed and have a man named Barabbas, the world's first serial killer that we know of, serial rapist and unaliver. And the crowd shouted, "Give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas."
Mm-hmm.
Because
And to this day, the crowd still repeatedly chooses characters like Barabbas over Christ.
well, look at Ted Bundy. That's why we did the True Crime Paranormal, and I wanted it all to tie in together with all these different avenues we were exploring, because it's like a fist, you know. But that was the whole thing. They would look at Bundy and be like, "Oh, he's such a good-looking guy. What are you looking at? He looks like a young Mr. Burns from Simpsons." But you know,
Eyes.
in his eyes, and then one picture, he's like, and you look at his eyes like a cat's
He
eye,
was pissed.
reptilian
When he
eye.
would get pissed, the mask would come. Oh, sorry, the mask would come off, and yeah, those. Well, I talked about it in that other show, the psychopathic stare, when they're not pretending. It's just that hollow, empty
He's
shell
got that.
inside that stares out.
You know, he looks just like that. He's
It's
just
the
like,
eyes of someone who wants power over you. Like AOC has the same eyes. Too.
yeah, that crazy donkey teeth.
Yeah.
So you look at Bundy, and they were writing him love letters and all this other crap, you know. And earlier I made a comment about Dahmer, but you know what's interesting about him and Gacy, both being homosexual killers. Gacy was unrepentant to the end, and he says, you know, "Kiss my ass."
Oh, yeah.
That was the last thing he said. And Dahmer was like very repentant, and even allowed himself to be killed. He didn't even fight back. He just closed his eyes, and let the guy kill him.
Yeah.
So people have asked me this question. They go, "This is weird, right?" People have said this, and I blurted something out one day to someone, and I don't know where this came from. I don't even remember. But they said, "What do you think is happening to Jeffrey Dahmer? Do you think he went to hell?" I said, "I think that he may have been one of the rare ones that was not a complete sociopath." Because in his book, in the book written about him, whatever, by his dad, I think it was his dad or something like that. I've read 2 or 3 different ones. He says something like it was such a waste, and he hated what he had done. When the other killers were just like, they would do what they did and they would revel in it and whatever. It was like he knew he was sick and he couldn't stop it.
And the other
So
thing is
to me, I answered
Sorry.
someone this. Hold on one second, Hannah.
Mhm.
And they asked me where he was at, and I said he's burning in purgatory. And I didn't even know where that came from. And somebody was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, I'm not real sure where that came from. It was like I just blurted it out, but then I thought about it, did some research on it, and I thought about it, and I thought that could be your God smithing you and burning the evil off of you so that you don't burn for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
There is a time that you have to suffer for what you've done. You know, even the time that John spent on the Isle of Patmos, and I'm not comparing Dahmer to this guy. Don't get it twisted. What I'm saying, though, is he's in there suffering in that jail. And they're like, well, why would God allow that? He has karma. I mean, you might go to jail. You might not. It doesn't depend. I don't know what you've done or what you haven't done. But there is a penance to pay for all the things you do in this world. So you can't, you know, and some people think, oh, I just win all the time and I'm the man or whatever. At some point, you're going to lose. Because,
Suffering is a part of the human
yes,
development cycle.
you have to suffer to be, to transcend. And I wish more Christians understood that, because they really do not. They're following the church. Like I said, it was once the bride of Christ, which has been, you know, everything you can think of, castrated, castigated, everything. And now you're looking at the bride of Nero, the Antichrist. But things are cyclical. And just because there was one Antichrist that was spoken of at that point in time in Revelation doesn't mean that it's going to come back and not happen again. Now we have many Antichrists. There's an entire group of them, an entire people that are antichrist, where if you even say the word Jesus, they, they spit on you and they hiss and they act a fool. And people are looking at them and saying they are the good guys. And beware, like it says, there is a time when evil will be called good and good will be called evil, and everyone is going to be thrown into confusion. And then, like you said, Anna, where they put little droplets of truth inside the soup of lies, and they feed it to us, and then they tell us this is what's real. Yeah, it's real to a degree, but look at it like this, and I'll shut up. Okay, say you're a kid, right? What is it? The Chuck E. Cheese, you go to the pizza place, whatever, for a day, you have your party, whatever. For adults, they go to Dave and Buster's. We have 2 or 3 different ones here. We have, what is it, Main Event?
Main Event.
We have, Pinballs, which is the Austin version, blows all them other ones away. But you're in this little world for a few hours, and it's great. It's awesome. And that is your world for a few hours. You're not having to think about the outside. Turn your phone off, go in there and have whatever it is, a load of fun, right? What was the comedian? He says a cavalcade of fun. What's his name? Dean Cook. Was it Dane Cook? We don't even hear about him anymore because he was too Christian, right? But Dane Cook, he says cavalcade of fun. Let's go in there and have fun. And then when you leave, you're looking at your phone going, back into reality. So this is not the real reality. We're living in this like matrix, and we're having our cavalcade of whatever. And then when you're done, you're faced with what is the immortal reality of your soul that Jesus is constantly talking about in the New Testament. He's saying it all the time. Satan is the one in control of this. Chuck E. Cheese here. Or as the, what's that show? Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
Risky Rats.
Risky Rats. You go to Risky Rats for a little while, and then you get out and you're, and go burn the place down like they did. But you know what I'm saying? It's not, this is it. This is, but you have to be in this reality to do what you have to do. And then you're pulled out of it. And then you're like, oh, I'm in the real reality. And that's why at PRT, we say you join us in the real reality, because you go into this. And these beings, they have the ability too to take you out of this matrix and kind of plug you into a timeout. That's what this, these black-eyed people are, these black-eyed kids and whatever. But anyways, that, I don't want to get too far off there, but do you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Go ahead, Anna. Anna's like looking all bored. She's like,
No, I'm interested. I'm not bored.
You're bored.
I'm
You don't like what I'm
fascinated.
saying.
I do have a question for you though. Do you keep like a backup hard drive attached to your brain to store all this information that you have? Because
Yes.
I don't know how you keep such vast historic. You are like a human data center.
Encyclopedia, I've been
Are you
called
like
that.
sucking up lakes and vast water sources to
Just like
maintain
them
your brain?
tentacles coming off of your body like Dr.
Yeah.
Octopus. No,
Powered by batteries.
There is something that only a certain number of people are born with, and it's like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I have really bad ADHD. I used to. I've managed to control it, and OCD and synesthesia. I know my wife has synesthesia too, so me and her get together and we're both OCD synesthesia, right? So and synesthesia for me is more like numbers or colors. Like all the numbers have colors, and when you put them together, they make a different color. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I have a weird.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. I've heard it's hard to imagine what that's like, but I've heard a lot about it. And I'm amazed I was able to retain my memory of what I was going to say before. But one real quick thing, when you were mentioning Jeffrey Dahmer, another thing about him that makes me think that maybe there's a slight chance that at the very least he's roaming around purgatory, burning off that karma or something, or figuring his soul out. And he did say, that he had accepted Christ, but you never quite know with those people, like, oh, are they just saying that or not? But in his case, he seemed like he didn't have the same arrogance that a lot
No.
of these killers have. And on top of that, on top of expressing his remorse and saying he knew he was sick and that he deserved to die for what he'd done and that society needed to be protected from him, the reason he gave for killing, as I'm sure most of you know, is it wasn't like, "Oh, I just enjoyed it. I just had the urge and I just enjoyed it." He said it was because he wanted to consume them so that they wouldn't leave. He felt
Leave
this
him.
constant need to to want to assimilate and have them be a part of him forever. And so even that reasoning behind it, as twisted and gross and sick as it is, it's not quite as like downright malicious as most murderers. So,
He was truly sick in his mind. And the
oh
thing
yeah,
is, he was cognizant of it. And what's even more interesting about him is he had no reason to con or lie anymore. Wisconsin doesn't have the death penalty. Well, they didn't. I don't know if they do now, but they didn't at the time. And so they couldn't go back and give him, well, your crimes are so heinous, you deserve to be executed, which in my opinion, he did. I think he should have been executed. Man, I'm sorry, but yeah, he was sick. Yeah. And
yeah,
he was totally willing to just die. He didn't even fight back. He let the guy kill him, which was like weird in of itself. And the guy who wanted the media to call him Christ, he's like, put a T on the end of my name because I wanted people to know that I'm Christ. And I'm like, no, dude, your name is Chris, and you're just sick and crazy too.
yeah.
And he had a history of fighting with inmates. He tried to. I was reading something about that guy, and that guy would go around. He was beating an inmate over a pair of shoes or something, and he was saying, "Say you love Christ. Say you love me." And the guy was like, "What the freaking?" And it was this other gang member that he was fighting with, and then he got jumped and stabbed, and I guess he lived. So he went around showing people the wounds, like, "Look, you can't kill Christ." And I was like, "What a whack job, dude." So
Total
this
delusion. Yeah,
one lunatic kills another, and everybody's like, yeah, whatever. But it's an interesting case study when you look at the human psyche and how devolved you can become into the beast. And I think werewolfism is a very that when you look at that, because Satanism is very tied into losing yourself as a man or woman, losing your humanity, and becoming a beast, and going around saying, I'm the beast. Aleister Crowley was always like, I'm the beast. And of course, they're always, pinning that from Revelation, who can make war with the beast and who is like the beast and blah, blah, blah. But that goes back to the original Nero. But I would hazard to guess, this has all been done before. And I believe that there were many of these cycles that have happened, come and gone, come and gone. And Christ has to come back over and over. It's like, it's a cycle. I do believe it's a cycle. And I think at the end of this last age, when the flood happened, the antediluvian world was a completely weird, sick, and twisted place full of cannibalism. And I believe, and not just these cannibal giants. I'll say, well, giants, are they even the same species as us? Right? But people have this weird where they think that anybody that eats a person is a cannibal. Like they'll be like, a great white shark ate a human. He's a cannibal. Well, he's not. He's a shark. If he's eating other sharks, he's a cannibal, right? But people think, they'll be like, this Bigfoot is a cannibal. He's eating people. Bigfoot's not a people. Bigfoot is not a person. You can look at Bigfoot and go, that dude ain't nothing like me. I mean, that's not me. I don't. But people, they do that. They put this label on there. So anyway, the giants were eating everybody. Everybody was doing all these horrible things. Men and women were just doing everything evil you could think of. The difference now is that it's all televised. People are doing horrible, horrible things, and they're videoing themselves, and they're showing the whole world their butt, and
people will
there's
be lovers of self in the end
Mhm.
times.
and brutal
Exactly.
and evil.
Mhm.
If you don't see that we're there. So what the people who are in charge love to do is be like, oh, well, look at what the Romans were doing. They were doing it back then and nothing happened to them. That's not really correct, is it? Because they got obliterated. I mean, eventually they got taken down and they've never really risen up again, and it never will. I mean, read Gibbon's, Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. I mean, it is a fascinating study. It took me, months to read, but it is worth the read. And I, of course, I had a lot of time on my hands at the time, so I was young, and I did stupid things. And they said, well, he put you in timeout. Well, I'm going to read. I asked, the first thing I was like, you have a library? And when I was walking to the library, this one guard, I remember him looking at me and going, you're the first one that's asked about the library in months. Nobody goes in there. Nobody does anything. They just let you go and then they close the door And I started reading, and you could check out 2 books. You could have 2. And then you had to re-sign every week, and if you didn't finish them. I read most of the library in there, in that particular facility. And I was in another one where I was in like a sort of not a halfway house, but it was like a treatment center where you get to be around other people who are as effed up as you and you have problems, whatever. And they're like, oh, here's all these kids with anger problems. Go play with them, a lot of fights. And so there was a library in there, and reading was mandatory in that place. It was like a reformatory. And I began to read. I read about Alexander the Great. And then I just went from there. And I went into the Romans and just went all the way through. And so I would strongly advocate for anybody who wants to learn about this kind of stuff, just start reading. I put a list about a month ago, maybe, on my Facebook of where to begin with ancient civilizations and apocryphals, the Gnostics and all the different texts. And I would tell you this, the Schofield Bible is one of the absolute worst books that was ever created, because they use that to literally scrub the truth, from our religion. And I mean by religion, by Christianity. If you can see that Jesus is the answer, there it is. But they use that in the Schofield Bible and all of this. And I argued against the rapture. I don't believe that people are going to be able to just be sucked up and not have to deal with it. I don't believe that. If you're here, you're going to have to deal with it. There's a reason you're here. Maybe you have a lot of bad karma. Well, I don't have karma. I don't believe in it. Well, I don't care if you believe in it or not. It believes in you. And it's going to find you, and it's going to follow you. And you may end up like Dahmer. You may not. Because there are evil people who've done a lot of evil, bad things. And you may find in the end that they're in a good place and you're not. Interesting, there was a story about one of Dahmer's victims, supposedly, and he is trapped in like this hotel. Like I was just, it was crazy. Somebody was telling me this, and it was like he was murdered by Dahmer, right? And now his spirit is very angry. And when people go into that hotel where they do an investigation or they stay the night there, they get attacked by this entity who many people believe was one of Dahmer's victims. And they've done all these different studies on this room, right? You can look it up. And I thought it was interesting, like when I was reading about it and I was looking at it and I was sitting there going like, and I remember either reading or hearing something about Dahmer. This is after I told the person about him burning, right? And I remember reading or watching something. It was me and my wife, Nellie, and we were watching something or reading something, and it was about that investigation. And they said that Dahmer was burning in purgatory. And I thought, what? That is so weird, because that's what I said.
That's weird. That's exactly
so it was a
what you
freaky
said.
deaky, yeah, it's a freaky deaky thing. But was it something that maybe one of my listeners had sent me or said to me in a conversation? That's possible, because I have a lot of them. So it is possible that somebody said something to me during an investigation and it stuck with me, and then I just blurted it out to this woman because she asked me that. We were talking about serial killers, and it was just a conversation. She was giving me her story. Kind of like when I interviewed you, Anna, before you came on the show. I wanted to make sure you weren't a dumb person, So I interviewed you a little bit.
Or a wacko.
she's like, yeah, because you come up and go, let me tell you something. This is Herb Baumeister case. Woo, he's an alien. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You just came on and you spoke so well. I was like, oh, we got to put this person on the show. I don't have to go, do I need to worry about this person saying some kooky shit, nothing like that.
Yeah.
But this other person, I was interviewing her, and she wasn't interested in coming on the show. She was from Florida, I remember. And it was about this serial killer. Forgot his name. He killed people in Tallahassee, I believe. So did Bundy, but this guy, I can't remember his name, but he murdered some co-eds. And you can look him up, Anthony, see if you can find it.
Oh,
serial
I think I might
killer.
know who you're talking about.
And when he talked real quiet and calm. He was real.
Co-ed killer? Is that
Yeah,
what
he
you're
was
talking about? That was his
the co-ed.
nickname? And
He
he
was
had the
terrible.
glasses. He was kind of overweight, yeah.
I don't think this guy
he's
had glasses. He was a
Wait,
big.
is he the one that killed
Ben
his
Kemper?
mom in that really
Not Kemper.
awful way? Oh,
No, this
okay.
dude like wrote songs
Maybe
about his
overlapping.
murders. He made a mixtape
Maybe
of
I
it. It
know
was
who you're
crazy.
talking about.
Where was it at?
In Florida State. I think it was like Tallahassee or something like that. or maybe it was Gainesville. I don't know. It was one of those two. It was in the Florida, in some college, and people were terrified because he killed a dude too. Typically, they only kill like the sex that they're into or whatever, but this dude, he did it. He killed like a dude trying to get to these women. Like he was just horrible.
It's just a casualty
Yeah.
or a collateral damage.
Tom Morgan says sounds like Lindsey Graham.
Is it Danny Rolling?
Yes,
At the
I do
University
believe
of Florida.
Florida.
Familiar.
That's right.
Killed
Gainesville.
5 students.
5 people. Yes. Okay. That dude, he even wrote
Looks like-
songs about it, dude. But so this woman was staying in this apartment complex right after that another woman had been unalived. Like maybe a year or two later, right next to it, the adjacent to one of the apartments, right? And she saw I have not talked about this on the show.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to talk about it during Ghost Week, but she saw a woman run through her living room, which was weird. Like she was being chased. Well, because you've done the Fox Hollow Farms. Yeah. The
Just gonna
weirdness.
say, yeah.
We need to revisit that during Ghost Week. If you'd come on one night on PRT and be my
yeah.
co-host, I would love to talk about this
Remember
and
it like
tell
yesterday.
this woman's encounter because she saw one of the women that was unalived by this nut. She believes that with all her heart. So what is weird though about it, she was talking about, that's when the conversation came up about Dahmer, and she goes, where do you think these people go? They killed this guy, right? Didn't they execute him?
Yeah.
They executed his sorry ass. So she was talking about, she's like, where do you think he's at? And I just said, he's probably burning in hell. He was unrepentant and he was evil. And she says, well, what about Dahmer? He repented. And I said, well, he's burning in purgatory. And then I was like, where did I get that from? Why did I say that? Then, a couple years later, I'm watching TV with Nellie, or I think it was a show, or I was reading it or something. I can't remember. We were talking about it, though. And they said that Dahmer was burning in purgatory. And I'm like, what? And why you blurt that, I have no idea. Morphic resonance is the only thing I could say to that. And now the show has turned into PRT. Right? I said, but not your fault. Totally my fault.
I know.
But you know what? Anna brought up the
topics like that,
space program. That's why we ended up down this rabbit hole. I blame her.
Yeah, exactly. Now we're on ghosts. I'm obsessed with paranormal stuff. So
Like
that's why I was a
Tate.
paranormal investigator for 10 years. So.
That's why women need to be quiet and do what I say and give me their money.
Oh, sorry.
What is his name? Yeah, Tate.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
That's why I'm Islamic. I don't want to have to be with these women. I'm totally gay. I just want their money.
I really do think he might be gay.
Dude, look at the way he dresses.
Yeah.
And there was a video of him dancing around. He looked like
he's doing
Zelensky
like
in the
this.
early days. Oh, no. It was worse than that. He was doing like some moves,
No,
man. He
'cause
looked like Michael
I
Jackson.
cannot act as feminine as a woman. I cannot act as feminine as he acts.
He was doing Michael Jackson, El Hee, dude. I'm telling you. And I was shocked at his moves. I was like, look at this guy. This is Zelensky before he became the fraudulent president or whatever. So, I mean, I think he's just what he is. We talked about him last week. But when you stop and you look at all of this crap that's happening, I believe that it's all engineered and it's all done. It's all been done before. And they get these soul contracts. It sounds nutty, but I'm going to say it, and they'll come back. I think that these serial killers, though, I don't think that they're adhering. I think they're the lower level people. They're not up there at the top echelon. They're killing people, even the most prolific, Samuel Little. I don't know if you know who Samuel Little is. He's an African-American dude, but he killed
He strangled a bunch of women. Yeah.
Strangled them, 100 women. 100.
Mm-hmm.
So then you look at this guy and you go, okay, but he's still, even 100, Andrei Chikatilo from Russia, another one, killed over 100 kids and women.
Horrible.
So then when you go ahead.
Sorry, who's the guy from South America where he was one of the worst I've ever heard of, where he murdered hundreds of children, and he would like pose them like little dolls and put them in a grave together. Oh, it was bad. It was really, really, that was.
Yeah,
the
he
worst
tried to
thing I've ever
mummify
heard.
them and stuff. So you have these killers. Even that is on a small scale. What is his name? Yurkich, the head of the NKVD.
Oh, Genrik Yagoda.
Genrik Yagoda. I don't know why I always want to say Gertrude. Genrik Yagoda. He died, that miserable bastard. He died before the war even started, before World War II. He killed so many people. He oversaw the murder of at least 20 million Christians, at least. And he was at work for a while doing it. And 90%, I'll say 90% of the camps that the Germans got credit for were actually NKVD camps. Yeah, read a book called Blood Red Snow. That is an interesting book. I read that years ago. I was doing security at this Toyota plant and I was bored out of my mind. Nothing happened there. So I would just got to know the security people real well. And I was just like, this is so boring. Yeah, this is so boring. You do a round, you go and you sit down, you do it. So I just started reading that book and I read it in a couple of days. And I was like, dude, it's an amazing book. It's about the war. Just focuses completely on Soviet versus German. And it talks about that, how the NKVD basically they made the Germans look like child's play.
Yeah.
You start to wake up to the reality of like, dude, we're being constantly force fed Germany this, Germany that, Germany blah, blah, blah. When you don't, the Soviets, it's like a flashlight to the sun. And that was one of the books that really made me kind of wake up. Like, you're always like thinking, these are the evil bad guys. But then you start to realize that this other group, which got a free pass, a pass bigger than Fauci's. And they were murdering so many people. And then you realize, because they were Christians. Nobody cared about the Orthodox Christians. Just who cares? They don't care. They weren't important. They were. So you also start to realize that a certain group of people's Messiah isn't going to come back until all the Christians are enslaved or killed. So there it is right there. They don't give a crap about Islam. People are dumb and they're like, they're fighting Islam. No, they're not. They're fighting you. Islam is just kind of there. Islam has just woke up to the reality of who that is, and they're fighting them. Now, that being said, that doesn't make Islam good, because Islam is really just a Timu knockoff version of Christianity, and it is just a clone of Judaism. You think I'm joking? Go read it. So I had somebody the other day, a Christian, arguing with me, and they said, well, I don't even want to read about it. I said, then you don't know what the hell you're criticizing. You know what you're talking about. Go read it. Are you one of those people who can't read it without becoming it? So if you read a book about the communists, you go become one? Yeah. You read a book about the Nazis and you're goose stepping? Or you read a book about the Mormons and the next thing you know, you want multiple wives or whatever? I mean, it's not all Mormons are that way. It's just certains, but...
I've never understood that about people, why they're so frightened to take in information. Like even me, I've studied Satanism, but not because I'm interested in it, not because I want to align with that energy whatsoever. Know your enemy. But just, you want to understand and know your enemy. And I have a curiosity about psychology and spirituality and the spiritual war we're in. And I don't want to be ignorant and blind to the other side of it. But some people feel like any piece of information, they're like, no, I can't look into that. Like they're just going to absorb it by osmosis and turn into it. It's like, no, you have free will. You can take in information. And it even bugs me, like sometimes once in a while I'll post a quote and it'll be a very accurate, true quote. And people will have complaints about the person who said it. And it's like, so like, it's still true. What is it, what does it
Doesn't
matter?
Change.
Yeah, and people just can't. Some people can't. They just don't have that flexibility. It's very frustrating.
If more people could take in knowledge and information and clean it and take what is necessary and move on.
And chuck the rest, yeah.
There was another book I read called Ivan's War, and it was the war from the Soviet perspective. And I've read a few books like this, and it really makes you feel bad because the Soviets were forced, most of them were forced at gunpoint themselves to go and fight. And some of them, there were 2 men, 1 gun. So when the one with the gun is killed, the other one picks up the gun with the limited amount of ammunition. So the Germans would just sit there on their MG-42s and just fire and fire and fire until they were out of ammo, and then they would be overrun. They just threw manpower at them. Overran them. Can you imagine that? You're just running towards machine guns, dude. Like, what in the hell? And then what's interesting is after some of the battles, there was one of the, I think it was Das Reich. It was one of the books I read. It was a book about the the SS, and they were talking about how they found small stab wounds in the backs of some of the Soviet soldiers that they had gunned down. And they were weirded out by that. They were curious. And so they asked some of the German high command, like, what is that? And so they set up spies, and they noticed that they were stabbing them, like small stab wounds, to prod them. They would have a line of them come out and shove yeah. And overwhelmingly, these were NKVD officers that were doing this to Christian soldiers. And the NKVD officers tended to be of a certain persuasion. Yeah. And so of a 6-point, right? And they would stab these Christian soldiers in the back. Some of them were bleeding to death as they were gunned down by the SS. And you're sitting there going like, what in the hell is... You just want to slap these people. And then you go over to China. You look at Mao Zedong and what he did. Horrible, dude. You hide up in the mountains while the Japanese are raging across. Chiang Kai-shek, the true hero, fought and fought and fought. And then they end up in Taiwan on this little bitty island, a country, basically a government in exile. And then Mao Zedong comes down. Oh, God, the thing, we got rid of the Japanese. You didn't do shit, dude. You hid up in the mountains. And you let your people die by the millions, dude. And then you come down and lord over them, give them one bowl of rice to 20 people. No shit, really. Some of them had to live 20 people to a bowl of rice a day. So millions were starved to death. And then they blamed the birds, of all things. So they went on this campaign of extermination, of killing the birds. Dude, I'm telling you, man, this is true. I'm not making this up. Go read his horrible book, his red book.
I was just, as you were describing that, I was thinking about Pol Pot and what he did.
Oh, the Khmer Rouge, yes, in Cambodia. Yeah. They killed over a quarter of the population. Can you imagine killing a quarter of your population, just wiped out? And then another quarter is starved to the point of like no return. So then the fallout, and a bunch of them die from starvation. Dude, it is a nightmare. Running around wearing tablecloths. What's even crazier is that to this day in the Cambodian jungle, they are still around. The Khmer Rouge is still around. I kid you not. And they're still kidnapping young teenage boys and using them as soldiers.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It's crazy. And then the same thing is happening in the Philippines. The Philippines, they are fighting against Islamic extremism and communism. Yeah. And then they wanted to criticize the president of the Philippines because he's like, F these people, and started throwing them all in camps and killing them. They're like, this is human rights violations. Dude, if they are extremist terrorists, right, and they are literally killing your people, communists and Islamic extremists, are gang members, drug dealers. What was his name? The Philippine guy, not the El Salvadorian guy.
Duterte?
Yeah. I like both of those guys. They were doing what they had to do. Protecting their people. But anyways.
Yeah. I always love all the interesting paths and tangents that our conversations wind up going on. But that's why it's called the Random Files, right?
Yeah, it's random.
It's pretty random. Random topics going in random directions. You're welcome, folks.
And see, and Marjorie says, I recently heard about a Japanese doctor who was just bad, horrible. It was called building during World War II. That's the thing, Marjorie. That stuff happened, but it wasn't as common as you think. Like the Germans and the Japanese, they get all the bad press. Any and every little thing they did is magnified into whatever. When you go back and you start looking at who was the real culprits, dude, it was 65 million people by one power, the Soviets. Yeah. That's not even counting how many people died because of starvation and all the other things behind the Iron Curtain after World War II in all those other countries. This is their own people. And then they wanted to blame the Germans, and it turns out the Germans killed only 8% of that, or 9, some small number. It was really crazy, like how we've been duped and told, well, this is what happened. This is why it happened, and blah blah blah. And then we don't even know about Dresden.
Yeah.
Why
We
did a
need to
quarter
do
million people get evaporated? Because they needed a number.
we need to do a whole show about the Soviet topic sometime. And so many of them, and I'm sorry to interrupt, go back to what you were saying, but
Mm.
I'm just gonna say, as you know, so many of the people behind that, the Soviets, were of a certain persuasion, which is difficult to talk about on YouTube, but I'm sure people will probably
Yeah, we can
catch
do
the
it on
hint of
Random
what I'm
Files.
talking about. Hmm.
And
Well,
Stoyanov
not
says the
Random
communists
Files,
are
but you
far and
mean
away.
Rumble.
Rumble, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rumble. Unimaginable atrocities and death toll. Yeah, Matt. I mean, when you wake up to the reality, the real reality, and you start going like, dude, imagine, okay, let's put it in layman terms. Say you go to the mall, okay, and you punch somebody. This is goofy. This is a goofy. This is just go with it, okay?
You get arrested.
Okay. You go into the Foot Locker. Okay, it was Anna. It was the ladies' Foot Locker. Anna goes in there with Nellie, and they go to buy some shoes, and Anna flips out. She's like, "This isn't my size. I have humongous feet. You have insulted me, Mister Ted Bundy, Al Bundy." So you punch Al in the face. He's like, "Yeah, what's wrong with you?" He calls the security on you. So for the next 10 years, they write articles about Anna and how terrible she is. You know what we found out? She doesn't even take her trash cans to the road sometimes. And then the next week, her garbage just smells and the whole neighborhood's angry. In the meantime, somebody walks into the mall and unalives 36 people. And they're like, in the news today, the weather is really hot. Oh, someone lost their cat and some guy killed some people. Anyways, back to you, Stan.
Anna still sucks.
Yes, we just received word that Anna went into a Chili's and did not tip well.
Didn't tip.
She did not tip well at all. It was a $36 tab, and she only tipped $3. And by my estimation, that sucks. And so
We're gonna make a bunch of movies about it too, but we're not gonna make movies about the guy that shot a
no,
bunch of people. Yeah.
no. Goldstein went in there and shot a bunch of people. We're not going to talk about that for obvious reasons. Where is Goldstein now? He went back to where he, dual citizen. Yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
And nothing to see here. And then this is literally to me what it's like when you wake up. I'm not talking about being woke. I'm talking about being awake. When you wake up to the matrix and the bullshittery, then you're sitting there going like, what in the holy hell? And every time you turn around, you're seeing another piece of information and you're going like, what? And then you tell yourself, no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to bite on it. And then you're reading it and you're like, oh my God, it never ends.
Yeah. Being awake it's a great blessing, but it's also a very burdensome thing. Sometimes it would be nice just to be blissfully stupid and not have to think about all this stuff.
Yeah, don't even.
Like, I wouldn't trade it. I don't want to be that, but I'm just saying once in a while you look at like a really, really stupid, oblivious person and go, that looks relaxing. That looks kind of
But
enjoyable.
if you want an escape, Anna and folks at home, drink a lot of tap water. Okay? Because your municipality probably was trying to save your teeth, like they give a shit. So they dumped tons and tons of fluoride into it.
Yeah.
It'll be a permanent break, though. You won't come back from
What
it.
flew over the cuckoo's nest?
Yeah.
Sorry to cough. That reminds me of another topic, which I don't even know if this would be a good subject for this particular show. It kind of almost crosses the line between PRT and the random files. But when you mentioned like fluoride in the tap water, the family that created that, their name is the Solvay family. They started a chemical pharmaceutical company. Are you familiar with them from way back in the day? And they're also responsible for Prozac. So that should kind of tell us something. So fluoride and Prozac, guys.
Have you looked into the DuPonts?
Oh yeah,
Dude, yeah. They're responsible for some weird combinations.
yeah.
Weird.
Very,
I'm not even going to go down
very.
that rabbit hole.
But the Solvay family, they own a castle in a remote forest in Belgium, and it's the Chateau de Armoroy, I think. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but colloquially, it's known as the Mothers of Darkness Castle, and it ties into the crimes of Marc Dutroux, the guy in Belgium that kidnapped all those children. And he was actually kidnapping for, it turned out he was kidnapping them for the elite and being funded by the elite. He owned like 7 homes, even though the dude didn't have a job, and he was keeping children underground. And it was a whole thing. Like the people of Belgium were actually revolting in the streets when they found out the corruption in the government and what was really going on. But anyway, it's a topic for another day. But if you ever want to go into that sometime, I
No,
find it
you can talk
very,
about it now. It doesn't
I
matter.
find it, I think it's a very, people in the chat can let me know if they'd be interested in that. But I think the whole Mothers of Darkness Castle and the Marc Dutroux case is super fascinating.
Yeah, and
Anyway, it just,
if you ever
it,
decide to go down that rabbit hole to Solvay, it's Solvay,
yeah,
and
and
there's a
that's,
little look at their. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what reminded me of it is they are the ones responsible for the fluoride in our drinking water, and they own this castle where it's rumored that there's all of these satanic ceremonies that go on, and there's tripwires and cameras all around the castle, and there's been tons of mysterious disappearances of people that, well, I shouldn't say tons, but there have been mysterious disappearances documented in police files of people that got too close to this castle and were invited inside and never seen again.
So they actually created this thing. It's sodium bicarbonate. Everybody know what that is?
Baking soda.
Baking soda, right?
Yeah.
And they originally started out with this product called soda ash. Do you know about that?
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So if you want to go down the rabbit hole, we can. That's up to you.
Oh, I'd love to. I love
Okay.
that topic.
So
I know it kind of walks that line between almost like paranormal and it's not really a current event, so I wasn't sure if people would want to get into it on this show, but I'm into that stuff. I find it
yeah.
fascinating.
So the Solvay family, they go way back, right? And of course, they are also one of those families. They are related to the Oppenheimers. They are related to the Rockefellers, of course, and they are an offshoot. They're cousins with the Sassoons. And so you have that whole connection there, right? They are into the chemicals. The Oppenheimers, I can't remember if they're an offshoot of the Solvay or Solvay are offshoot of them, but they are responsible for the chemicals. If you go to their website, they have a website. I can look this up. I've read this before. And one of
By the
them's
way,
name is like
they won't
Thaddeus
let
or
any
something.
they not only will not let anyone from the public even near the castle, and people that have managed to make it onto the grounds, they have said there is a weird feeling on this property. Like they just can sense that there's weird stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who's done investigations all over the nation for a decade, I can tell you sometimes you'll go to a location that's supposed to be super active and haunted, and you'll be like, I don't, it's like deader than a doornail, no pun intended, but you just don't feel much. And then you'll go someplace else, and the whole team will just be like, there is something going on here, and you really can feel it. So when these people say that, I don't think it's just a psychosomatic reaction they're having that they're psyching themselves into it. I think enough people have described that it's a
You know,
creepy
okay,
forest with a
let's go
creepy
to this.
castle.
Let's say this. The odds of them putting human ash in your food and water supply, I'm just going to say that. So if you look it up, they'll say we are a leader in the industry of blah, 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 chemical, whatever. It says Solvay is primarily known for essential chemical technology, specifically soda ash and sodium bicarbonate, peroxygens, which is hydrogen peroxide, and high performance silica. Now, you don't want to know what the silica is. They found this recently in meat in a particular taco fast food place, right? Right? And they say it's highly addicting in food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I gotta go to the bathroom.
Well, if you gotta go, go. I can cover
I
this.
haven't been to Taco Bell recently.
So it says invented via the historic Solvay process, sodium bicarbonate is a foundational raw material heavily demanded by the glass, detergent, and chemical sectors. Their bicarbonate grades serve food, pharmaceuticals, and flue gas treatment markets. Okay. And that it just anybody know that's fireplaces like the flu, whatever up and
Oh,
down.
I was gonna say flue gas. What?
Yeah, great gas treatment for the flu. Yeah, there was the
They're
flu in
gassing people
your.
with the flu?
No, that's it's your
Yeah,
fireplace.
they'd like to.
Solvay is a leading global supplier of hydrogen peroxide, utilized extensively for environmentally friendly bleaching in pulp and paper, textile manufacturing, chemical synthesis, and electronics cleaning. Then it says high performance silica. Now, this is the interesting one right here, right? Invented by Solvay, highly dispensable silica acts as a critical reinforcing filler in rubber and elastomers, allowing tire manufacturers to build fuel efficient, low rolling resistance tires. Fluorine and special chem include specialized fluorinated gases, rare earth elements, and metal oxides that support advanced electronics, automotive catalysts, and emerging clean energy technologies like electronic vehicle batteries, right? These people are always one step ahead. It says, would you like to explore how the traditional Solvay process works chemically or learn more about their newer sustainable and carbon neutral initiatives? No, I would not. Here is the thing. These people who were doing this, and you're talking about the castle, right? And all the murder castle, let's call it what it is. When you stop and you look at these people and what they do, alchemists, traditionally alchemists throughout time immemorial, they were always, but they worked very closely with the spirit world, right? Alchemists were even arrested during the time of the Inquisition in Spain. And look, Spain's going through it, aren't they? Interesting thing about Spain today, folks, just in case you didn't know, was the day that they kicked out a certain group of people. Muslims and Jews were kicked out of Spain en masse on July 31st. And now today they are being completely overrun. Their border is collapsed and they have millions of people flowing into the Iberian Peninsula. Effectively, this will probably be the end of Spain as we know it. Good luck trying to find a Spanish person or a French person these days that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, and everybody's going to go, that's a racist statement you just made. No, I don't give a shit what you say or what you do. I had some guy accuse me on my Facebook of racism because of the thing I posted on. Go look at my Facebook, folks. Go look. Please, go look and comment. Called me a racist. Says, I regret giving you my experiences if I would have known how you were. That's what he told me.
People are so weird.
He gave me his
Yeah,
encounters. Now he regrets it. Because I showed Leonardo DiCaprio as Obama. Why? Was that a problem? I mean, it's like the Odyssey and shit, you know?
Yeah.
I said that. He got mad. These are racist tropes. Whatever you want to say, man. I am not apologizing for shit. My best friend who passed away in 2020 was black. And I don't have to sit here and go over all the black people I know in the world and get up on a podium and try to tell you that I know a bunch of, who cares? Look at my nephew. Look, there he is right here. There he is. How dark he
Look at
is.
that handsome guy.
Where? Oh, this one?
Martis. I have a black cat right there. Look at
Yeah.
this.
I'm not
Great
racist.
timing.
My cat is
That was,
black.
that was great comedic timing. Just this,
This is
behind
just-
this black
he's just a
background,
cat
this black
over
cat
there.
pops up.
So if I want to sit there and go, oh, let me explain to you why I'm not, there's a million black people that I'm really good friends with. I don't care if you know it or you don't know it.
Right.
I've never wasted time trying to convince people who I am or what I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not evil. I'm not a bad. You want to believe what you want to believe. People are going to believe what they want to believe. People convince themselves of whatever they want to convince themselves of so they can feel better about themselves when they do bad things to you. Simple as that. But
Yeah.
going back to this Solway thing, that's interesting that you brought that up. I like that you brought that up. That's cool. But if you stop and you look at what they've done, fluoridated our water, fluoride is not a good thing, folks. It's a poison. And it destroys your brain. And when you tell people
Been
this,
proven.
yeah, the older generation, they're like, no, Billy, it's for your teeth. I don't give a shit. Because I said this in school when I was a kid. I've never had a cavity. Still never had a cavity. I'm 51 years old. And I raised my hand. My teacher was Mrs. Stockdale. I was in fourth grade. And I said, I have a question. I was like, if fluoride is so good for us, then why does everybody in this class have cavities?
You said
Teacher's
that at
like,
that age?
a cavity, raise your hand. And like half the class raised. Teachers had cavities. Everybody had cavities. Well, at that age, because I was in the 80s, Anna, and back then we were not really hip on the healthy food thing. So sweets were a constant treat in the classroom. Once a week, we would be given like cookies and whatever. We always had desserts that were, with your meals, and everybody was eating sugar, sugar, sugar all the time. People were drinking soda instead of drinking water. And get this, when bottled water first came out, do you know that Coca-Cola and Pepsi were cheaper? Yeah, it was cheaper to get a 3 liter of Coke than it was to get bottled clean water. Why do we need bottled water? Probably because our water sucked. And we're putting fluoride in it and all kinds of shit. And then these people,
Well, if you think about it, I was just going to say they're basically taxing us to be healthy. They're making it very easy to be unhealthy because they want to reduce the population, make everybody sick and stupid and lethargic and apathetic and miserable. And if you want to buy organic food or bottled water that doesn't have fluoride, on and on, countless examples of products that aren't going to infiltrate your bloodstream with horrible chemicals, they're going to charge you a premium. And so a lot of people just can't afford that.
mm-hmm, they know that eventually we'll all just die off. They don't have to kill you. There's people like, oh, they're going to kill people. No, they're not. They know that you will eventually die off. You're going to get cancer, or you're going to, something's going to kill you, because there's another book I read. It was Salt, Fat, and Sugar, and how the industries. Look it up, Anthony. It's on Amazon. It's called Sugar, Fat, Salt. That's the first thing. I've read the book, but it's a good book, and it actually, I can't even tell you who wrote it. I read it like in a couple days, but it was an interesting read, and it was talking about how Lay's potato chips, how they have salt, so much salt on them that at their plant, the people will have, there it is, Salt, Sugar, Fat, How the Food Giants Hooked Us by Michael Moss. Yeah, that's what it is. It's New York Times bestseller. James Beard Award winner in this propulsively written and persuasively argued the Boston Globe expose, Pulitzer Prize winning investigative reporter uncovers an insidious truth: food companies are deliberately sacrificing our health to raise their own profits. Well, this book is dated now because we all know this, but read about how they did it. And when you read about how they're in the plant, right, in like the Lay's plant or whatever, and the workers have to cover themselves, so they don't get poisoned by the salt, because they pour so much of it on the chips. There's no way for them to know, oh, this only has 600 milligrams or bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like a pile of salt at their feet, because it's one of the most abundant minerals on earth. But then they take it and they tax us with it too, with a kosher tax. So you look at sodium, it's one of the worst killers. It sucks up the water, and it causes you to have a lot of fluid retention. My friend who passed away when I was, I guess, in my early 40s. No, how old was I? It's been several, about 10 years ago. He died, and he had fluid in so much fluid retention. They had 4 liters, and still one of his legs was enlarged, like 3 times the size of his other leg. And his name was Robert. And he passed away. His name was Robert Turner. He was a good friend of mine. Same name. He's black. Same name last name as mine. But when he passed away, and he was my business partner on the other side, and he was a nice guy. I always got along real good with him, and we were good friends. And he was just so puffy, but he ate so much sodium. Every time we would eat dinner and he would be there, he'd be just eating salty stuff. And I told him, I said, dude, that's going to get you. High blood pressure is just one of the problems with sodium. We get way too much sodium. And all these electrolyte drinks and all that, you don't need all that extra sodium. You get so much of it already. But salt is not sodium, right? Salt has sodium. Salt has trace minerals and other things in it that are actually good for you. Like Celtic salt is one of the best. What's the other one? Pink Himalayan.
Himalayan pink
I
salt.
use
It's got
pink Himalayan.
like a full mineral profile, but the sodium, the salt that's used in like these processed and ultra processed foods, all these like potato chips and snacky cakes, all this crap that comes in a wrapper in a box. It's cheap table salt that they use. So it's like the worst form of salt with like nothing good in it. It's just straight sodium that does nothing for you. It doesn't have like a nutritional or mineral profile. It's just the cheapest crap. So it's awful.
Yeah. And most people don't get enough magnesium or potassium. And King Dibbles says here, sodium, magnesium requires magnesium, potassium, which then aids kidneys and flushing out the extra water. Some people are salt sensitive and they have problems processing salt. I'm one of them. I cannot eat a ton of sodium because it'll make me sick. But there are people who just get way too much sodium in their diet. And then they wonder why they're dying. People eat too much sugar, and everybody knows what happens when you eat too much sugar. What happens? You get sick. You become diabetic.
Cavities and stuff. Yeah, I've never had a single cavity as an adult because I just have never had much of a sweet tooth. I don't eat sugar.
I don't either. The other one that is it's fat, and of course, there's different kinds. If you got that kind of fat that just jiggles on you, and you can get rid of it, that's fine. It's the visceral fat that is within your organs and inside of your body. That's the worst kind, and it's very hard to get rid of.
And the combination of fat and sugar is what will put fat onto your body more than anything. Like when
Because your
you eat
body will
just
burn the
stuff,
sugar.
yeah, like I eat ketogenic, strict keto. And again, I research everything like to a T, so I did it the right way and I was really, really strict and I did it straight and it completely overhauled my health. In positive ways you can't even imagine. And because I have an autoimmune condition, and so I'm really prone to inflammation. So carbohydrates and sugar are like a no-go for me. I like carbohydrates, but they don't like me. And when I did this high fat diet, I was just looking to like lose a couple pounds. I didn't expect it to have the effect it did. So like high fat can be good in certain contexts. It's when it's combined with other things or you're not eating the right kinds of fats.
If you like pasta, and I like pasta, but I don't eat much of it. The chickpea pasta is really good. I would go with chickpea pasta. It's pretty good. And then if you're going to eat dip or anything with chips or something, there are these chips called Wio, and they are carbless. They're not completely carbless, but they have low carbs, and then you can eat that with hummus.
I love
And
hummus.
and then they have these tortillas, and it works because I ate the tortillas, and as long as you heat them up good, they're okay. They're not crazy good or anything, but they're
Yeah.
better than eating flour tortilla. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I've got some low carb tortillas right now, actually.
yeah, there's a lot of different alternatives. People don't want it though. But the worst thing you can do is drive into the Wendy's and get a burger from the Wendy's, or even a wrap or something you think is remotely healthy. It's not. Eating salad dressing. Salad dressings are one of the worst things you get. All this crap. We'll do a show about this eventually. We'll talk all about the food and whatever. But on this thing that we were talking about to close this out, the space program, we kind of got off track from that
Just a little.
just a little,
We
but
went
we'll
to
come back to
a
it. It's a
Belgian
very,
castle and diet. Yeah. And
and the thing is, the silica. They're putting this in all of the food, and they're mixing it. I was told that a certain taco, ELL, with the first letter of something, has like 70% meat in their meat.
ugh, ugh.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like,
What's the other 30%?
uh,
Carbohydrate fillers and human.
sawdust and
Is it human
silica.
meat?
It always cracked me up that when these fast food places advertise, like it's something special. 100% beef patty, like as
You
opposed to
always have,
what? Like,
yeah,
and nobody ever asked that question. Like, they have a big sign on their window, 100%
Well,
beef patty.
they used to use soybean filler.
I'm going how is this a selling point here? And why is
Yeah.
this? People just accept this, don't ask, as opposed to what? Like, what were you
yeah,
serving before?
yeah. And when people buy products or they order fast food or whatever, you always want to differentiate between when they say made from and made with. There's a big difference between those two. You know, they like to say made with 100% beef, so people just like
Hmm.
their brain bypasses it and goes, "Oh, it's
Made with.
100% beef." No, 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 it's made with. It doesn't mean the whole thing is made from that, people.
And then you can go and pick up a jar of honey and it'll say, as one of the ingredients, raw honey.
Yeah.
That's one of the
And the
ingredients.
rest is like corn syrup and crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all being
Well,
poisoned.
the deck is stacked against us. And to get by FDA regulations, because occasionally you might have a Boy Scout in there that'll say, hey, you probably shouldn't do this. So they'll say, well, we told them that it's made with 100% beef. So 100% beef is made with that, you know.
Yeah.
And who dictates how much is what and how much of it is grasshopper legs? We don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, you know, and you're never going to know. So you're trusting food giants like Cisco. If you read what they've done and how they got to where they're at, they just go out and they buy out smaller. There is an entire industry of food producing plants, and all they do is they try to make enough profit and make enough money and get big enough to where a company like Cisco will buy them out. And there were all these other companies going way back, Affiliated Foods, International Foods, all these different, and they all end up just converging into one big, you know. And then you see the plants and, you know, where they process this stuff. You see the animals and how they get treated and whatever, and it'll make your
I
stomach
can't
turn.
stand.
Cannot eat
That's
fast food burgers, man. I won't do it. I can't do
No,
it, man.
that's what
I
I
haven't
think
done it
about
in a
every
long
time.
time.
And on the rare occasion when I have, I literally will say a prayer over it and say, you know, please forgive me for the suffering of this animal because I know what they go through and it's
Mm.
horrific. It's horrific. And I
And they
just
get
can't, it
sociopath.
grosses me out. It's not like I'm just like naturally lit that I just naturally want to be a vegetarian, but I really do struggle with eating meat just because my brain goes to what that creature went through and it kills my appetite.
And see, growing up in Texas and having a family that always, on my dad's side in particular, but both sides of the family, but really my dad's side was very cattle, a lot of chickens. Everybody had a bunch of chickens. And my cousins, one of my cousins, Ken, his family did show chickens.
Oh,
And then after they were done with them, well, the chickens got slaughtered, but they were given decent lives. But then not we, like I didn't do it, but they killed them themselves humanely. And then
right.
it was passed out to the family and distributed at around Christmas time or in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then, you know, that's always been that way.
It
And
wasn't
then one
fear
of my
and
cousins,
torture on an industrialized
no,
scale, you know?
no. And it was all my grandparents every summer would have a calf, you know, and then that would be what you ate for the summer, you know, and when it was gone, that was it. We didn't go run to the grocery store and go get more. If you ate that much, well, then that's on you, you know. It's just, and they had a vegetable garden and they had plum tree. They had a plum tree, they had a peach tree, and there was another apricots. They had two apricot trees. And I ate so many apricots, so many. I used to like to eat the peaches and the apricots green. And my grandmother would always open the window. You're going to get a stomach ache. You're going to stop eating those green. And I'd get a stomach ache. I'd be like, oh, my stomach hurts. I mean, yeah, exactly. And then I would eat the Mustang grapes. And she would always tell me, don't eat those. And I would still eat them. I'd get a handful of them. And then the dewberries, which are blackberries, and we'd go out to the pasture and we would eat, you know, and then they would grow watermelons and cantaloupes, cucumbers and squash and all kinds. And they knew which vegetables to grow because certain vegetables help other vegetables grow. And they'd have tomatoes and okra. And I wasn't a big fan of okra, but my grandmother would always tell me okra is so good for you. You need to eat it. And I would. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm glad I ate it. Because okra staves off diabetes. You know, there are so many things that we take for granted now, but that this older generation, they did not. My grandparents' generation, they were not like they always had gardens and all their neighbors had gardens. I mean, when I was a kid, it was just like, where's your garden? Like everybody had a garden. And now is like you're like you have a garden, like you're into that, like it's some kind of hobby. You're like you don't grow anything at all. Like out at the ranch, we got tomatoes and we got different stuff, peppers, whatever. Yeah, that's and we have chickens. I showed you the video on of the chicken. Yeah,
Wow,
that snake going after the
that's
chickens.
bad.
But you know, so you have animals out there, you have rabbits, you have all kinds of stuff. People don't understand these kind of things. They think that oh, this is just you go to the grocery store and get food, but that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
And they don't get it.
Or they
But
just never, ever, ever have put any thought into it. It's crazy.
no, but we'll get into it. So tomorrow night we're going to talk about Fauci and pleading the fifth over and over and over again. We're going to get into the wild, wild world of that, of what they
Great,
did, and
great
how
toilet paper wars of 2000.
some people, he's a hero in our house. Where? What house are you living in? Are you in the space program?
La La Land.
Up in space?
Good
But
point.
yeah. In conclusion, though, are we to believe that the space people, that like the outer space, let's say this: are we part of an intergalactic society? Would you believe that?
Oh, man. I mean, I've heard so much about that. I'm just going to say I think it's possible, and I don't entirely know because it seems like our government has an attitude toward a lot of these species that there's hostility that we have to that they feel that they need to defend from. But at the same time, I do think that they're in cooperation with other species, so it makes you wonder. And of course, there's people that are absolutely convinced that all aliens are demons, and if you're of that persuasion, I respect that. And then there are people that think that all aliens are these altruistic space brothers that are here to enlighten us and, spread love and light and all that. And I don't believe that either. I believe both, actually. I think that um, just like there are good, bad, and indifferent people within the human race, I think that there are good, bad, and indifferent leaning species, and probably good, bad, and indifferent leaning individuals within each species. But I do definitely think that there are demonic forces that are going to use the guise of the whole alien thing to absolutely deceive us. So for me, I know Linda Moulton Howe, she's talked about how everything to do with the topic of UFOs, extraterrestrials, just the whole darn thing, and how the government's involved. She describes it as a hall of mirrors with a quicksand floor. And I think that's a very apt description because it's like the second you think you've kind of figured it out, you look over here and there's some other element, some other puzzle piece that doesn't quite make sense or add up. And so that was a very long-winded answer, but I guess to summarize, I don't really know, but I do think it's possible. What about you?
I think we're trying to look at something not understandable, unfathomable. Let's put it that way,
Mm. Yeah,
because you're looking into the fourth and fifth dimensions, and we're in the third.
yeah,
And what we think of as magical and weird and wacky and wild, it's that way because it's a science we don't understand.
yeah,
And so to them, it's just an advanced technology, and we don't get it.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I told Anthony this story the other night. I don't know if I've ever told it, but it was a PRT thing, right? Really. I'll close with this. I observed a paranormal phenomenon in my house for about 30 straight minutes. I'm not going to get into a big old explanation. I'll talk about it on the ghost show that we're going to do, Ghost Week, coming up in Summerween. Summerween. Can't take credit for that. Rain, you're a genius. Thank you for coming up with that term because it's something I thought about doing because Shark Week is going on, right? And I haven't got to see but very little of it. And my little dog, this is funny. Sophia, she's terrified of the sharks.
She should be.
She'll look at because the TVs we have now, they can actually see the images.
Yeah.
The TVs in the old, they couldn't see. They look at it and go like, "What the hell is that? Red and green, you know." But she can see it, and she was like watching this shark, and she freaks out and goes and tries to get behind me and scared.
She knows they're evil.
Yeah, she could tell. We turn a great white shark upside down and it looks like the devil.
Mm-hmm.
It does, right? And then, so you have this, I need to catch up on it. Don says, love Shark Week. I do too, Don. I am a Shark Week nut, dude. So I thought about it, so we're going to do a Ghost Week, right? So I had this aquarium in my old place, and I watched the water turn into a tornado in the middle of it was a 60-gallon, whatever, 55, whatever, something like that. And I ended up with an aquarium because a roommate of mine moved out, and he just told me, he goes, I don't have the money to pay the rent. And he's like, I'm going to move in with my girlfriend. I'm like, cool. And he goes, you can keep that aquarium. I was like, I don't know anything about it. How much is it worth? So he taught me about it, and showed me how to do everything. And so I just kept it and took part of his rent off or whatever. And then he gave me like a car stereo or something. We were friends. He passed away a couple of years ago. We've been friends for years, me and this guy. And he had heart failure, but he was a really cool dude. And something about him I can tell you real quick here. Getting tattoos when you're young seems cool, but that dude ended up being, it messed up his liver.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that.
The ink poisoned him.
Yeah, because I actually just heard about this recently, but yeah, I don't have any tattoos, but I've heard that it puts your body into a constant state of basically fighting an infection. It thinks it's constantly fighting an infection, is constantly trying to replace those pigmented cells.
Mm-hmm.
So it wears your system down and can cause all kinds of problems, especially the more you have.
Yeah. And so he was lamenting that he was covered in tattoos. He got a bunch of them when he was young. And so we were friends for years. And so he left his aquarium there. He was a nice guy. And but he showed me how to do. And then now we have a big aquarium. Anthony is kind of a hobbyist in it. And I just passed it down to these guys and my other nephew. And so the interesting thing that happened to me that day, it was this tornado inside of the aquarium, and I was observing this. And my dogs were freaked out. We had a cat at that time too, and they all ran into my brother's room. My brother was in there sleeping. I could see right into his room. I was in the living room, in the den. And I look up and I'm watching this. Long story short, I'm not going to get into it, but I started to ask questions. I said, hey, if you're manipulating, turn the light on. The light went on, right? And so the point of this is that I observed something, and the thought clicked in my head. This is just science to them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
This is just a technology that they have that we don't. We can't see them. They can see us. So when I first read about plasmoids and all this other stuff, and interesting that they admitted that there is a plasmoid being that we interact with, right? That's not really an extraterrestrial. It's not from here. But it's been here for a long, long time. So let's put it that way. And so, no, I don't think Edna says, was it your friend that passed away? No, because he was still alive. He just passed away a few years ago. But this thing that happened there, it was whatever was there. And there were three things I can say definitively. There was something very, very dark and evil and sinister. There was something that I considered was actually good, right, that showed up. I think it showed up. And then there were spirits that were human spirits that I think were trapped there. When the good thing showed up and it helped get rid of the darkness, I think it freed those human spirits too. And that sounds weird. That sounds crazy, but there's a whole thing to that. And we'll talk about it on Ghost Week coming up. And we got some really creepy stories to talk about, and some interesting ones and some sad ones. And we're going to go through it on Ghost Week.
I have some very interesting ones I've never told you about that I can throw in there if you want.
Yeah, I'm going to have you come on one night.
Do that. Yeah. I got some stuff up my sleeve for you.
Cool. Well, you're not wearing any sleeves, so what do you mean?
Duh.
But I'm gonna have long sleeves full of cool stuff.
Full of cards like Gambit? You're gonna throw them?
Just gonna.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, anyways, long episode, right? 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah, it was fun though. I like how random it is. It's almost like our show's called Random Files.
That's what it is, right? But tomorrow night we're going to try and at least stay on topic a little bit before we venture off into whatever, and we are free to talk a little more freely,
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense. We're free to talk a little more freely. Don't you hate when people write like that too?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
the man went to the restroom. The restroom is where he was at. That was in the restroom. When they use the same word, like that's a pet peeve of mine. Like when I'm reading a book and they use the same damn word 2 or 3 times in 2 sentences, it's like, dude,
Yeah.
enough. You know,
Yeah.
I can't stand that. You know. But anyways, that's something that we're working on to make sure that that doesn't happen with the vampire book. Vampire book's still coming out. We're going to have it out. It's coming. I promise you. We got it. Just got to get this man right here is finishing. He's taking over. He's the commissar of the vampire book.
Yes. And it will be done correctly, and the trains will run on time. Whatever trains are in that book,
mustache.
they're going to run on time. I'm telling you. No more of this vampire book trains not running on time. You were just talking about that being a pet peeve. The same word over and over.
Well, that's you know, when I talk to somebody who's, I don't want to say anything bad about the guy. He's a great guy, and he's been on TV and everything. And I could see from the beginning of his work until later how he evolved. And I said, dude, and one of the things I told him, I said, I can't stand when people repeat the words. He's like, yeah, that's something that he had to learn the hard way. Because if you just think it and then write the way you think, it doesn't work. That's why that speech to text, you got to be seeing you got to be, the words. That sounds good in theory until I started doing it. And then I was like, looks like shit. You come out what you're saying, like,
You end up having to do a bunch of typing anyway.
yeah, and you can't just come to whatever,
Yeah. Because you can't write the way you speak. It
No.
doesn't read correctly.
especially with mine.
It's an
right
art
now.
form.
It
It's
is.
an art form, and you have to train your brain in that. But then
So
then it just flows really easily once you kind of, get used to it.
we got to write a book on it. I'm telling you, you and I, we got to co-author a
Yeah, I would
book,
love to. I would love
and
to.
just, you take part of it, I take part of it, and we'll go in and we'll do it. I mean, because it's not that hard. It's not.
Yeah.
In the
just a matter
time
of
that this
actually doing
vampire
it.
book has been pissing me off, I got 2 other books almost done already.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like boom, boom, boom. Because this book is just, I'm not even joking. It's like something is trying to stop this book.
Yeah.
I'm not joking.
Yeah. No, stuff like that happens. I know what you mean.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
stuff like that definitely happens. And by the way, that aquarium thing, I haven't in many, many years, but I used to always have aquariums. And yeah, they don't just randomly whirlpool like that ever. So that's super weird.
killed my fish a couple times too. Like
That's
all
very
of them.
strange. But like you said, it's not. I think I even said that when you first interviewed me on PRT way back in the day, that I don't. I've said over and over to people, I don't really consider stuff paranormal. It's just the normal, it's science, it's the way that reality works that we just simply haven't quantified yet. We haven't put it in a
Yeah.
textbook. We haven't quite figured out the finite details of how it works. But it's like that analogy I made to an Amazonian tribe, and you flick on a Bic lighter and they think you're a wizard. It's like, it's just the way things work. And we think that it's creepy and paranormal and weird, but really it's just the nature of
That's how the
reality.
Watchers became gods. So the
Yeah,
Anunnaki
exactly.
deceived everybody. I mean, they're like, oh, we're gods. No, you're not. You're created by the
Yeah,
same God we were. I mean,
yeah.
you've set yourself up as God. That's it.
Well,
All right,
heck, even
guys.
the Spaniards, they thought they were gods when they came into
Yeah, the
like
natives
the
thought they were the horses. They thought they were
yeah.
they were just like, all right, guys, we're out of here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting edition of the Random Files. Hopefully it'll get bigger and better, and bigger is always better. I think so. And we're going to get a bigger chat, get bigger, people coming back and watching. We're averaging about 1,000 views a show. That's not bad. We get about 10% of that in the
No.
chat. Like the other night, I was on Wednesday and there was like 260, 70 people, whatever it was. Not a lot. It wasn't a huge shit, but then 3,000 people have already watched that episode. So for whatever reason, I guess people like in the summertime, this happens in the summer especially. It's like, well, we got things to do. Like
Yeah.
it's hot. We're just going to sit here and sweat. You think you'd be indoors because it's so damn hot outside. But I guess the opposite is that people aren't running around, I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're out hiking, looking, where you're from right now, Anna, how hot is it up there?
It's hot. there's a heat advisory for Idaho and Oregon, and I told you obviously I told everybody my air conditioning was broken, but it's fixed now. My air conditioning's fixed. It's like
What was the
nice weather
problem?
here. Oh, it's so stupid. So we have one of those trees that gives off those cotton bud things, and apparently it had just completely clogged up the filter because there were so
Mm.
many of them blowing in the wind. And so he was able to clear those off. So it was only I think he only charged like $150 to come out and figure out the
You're
problem and
lucky.
fixed it. Yeah, real lucky. Yeah.
Ours is out and they want like 16 grand.
What has to be fixed?
Did you not, man? Shoot, they said all kinds of crap. Like we bought this house in Cedar Park, and that house is I love the house. I don't have problems with it, but this house has like the AC went out in 2 months after we bought it, and we've had thing after thing after thing go bad because it's a 30-year-old house. It's a 30-year-old house, but it's built well. Like I remember one day, I shit you not, man. Excuse my language, folks, but it was just like quiet as a church mouse in the house. And then I go outside and I'm like, whoa. And the wind like caught me off guard. And I weigh like 375 pounds. And this wind pushed me, and my big ass was like kind of, whoa, like, it threw me. I ran back in the house and got a jacket. And Nellie's like, what happened? I was like, the wind and the rain attacked me. And she's like, looks out the window. Wow, it is. Because it's so quiet inside. It's so well insulated. So that's a good thing, right? But
Yeah.
when it's hot, it's freaking hot. So we had to do all this other stuff to stay cool. But yeah, I didn't even realize how bad it was outside that day. And it was cold as hell and it was storming, and it was late fall. And I just walked outside and was like, whoa. So I ran back in to get a jacket. So you'll be in the house and you don't even notice all the riffraff,
Mm-hmm.
Our neighbors, they're actually pretty cool. They have a band. And so the dad plays, right, Anthony? He plays with his kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're in a band. So you'll hear them if you go by the window in the restroom upstairs. You'll hear them. Boom, 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 boom. You're like, oh. But then when they smoke, like when they imbibe of the devil's lettuce, it'll come to the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the hell? That has got to be the cheapest shit ever. Why would you smoke that dank shit? I'm joking. People will smoke anything these days. And I don't smoke anymore at all, but I had some taste when I did. It's like, I don't know what that is, kid. I'm joking. But they do though. They smoke it. You can, that will come inside. The one thing that will get in. And you're like, God dang it.
Great. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like, dude, some of us have to go to church. Not me, but some of us around here. I don't go to public worship. I do worship God all the time. Worship Christ I worship God through Christ all the time, but I don't, go to a public church. But if you do, that's great. But get a preacher who's not going to tell you who your brothers and sisters are. Make sure that they know the Bible. They know what they're saying.
Or that prosperity gospel stuff. I was going to bring that up earlier when we were talking about it. It's just this whole materialism that's infiltrated the church, and like God's some kind of a magical
superhero
godmother vending machine that's just going to dispense stuff if you
blessings.
Yeah.
They all want blessings.
Tithe enough, and you'll be a millionaire and all this. It's like, that is not spirituality. What is wrong with you people? Whenever I hear that, and I know we have to go, but whenever when Jesus talked about how people would come to him at the end and say, like, Lord, Lord, I did all these things in your name, and he'll say, get away from me, I never knew you. Basically, I'm paraphrasing. I think of the Kenneth Copelands and the people like that. Like, I would not want to be Kenneth Copeland in the afterlife.
That dude. Oh man. Wedge
the
says
closest I've ever seen to somebody who's like genuinely demonic.
He looks it.
Oh yeah.
He does. He looks it. Well, and all those people that are evangelicals, they're all doomed. They are doomed because, and they're all part of that. The MIGAs, MIGA, make Israel great again. That's what they're all about. They're going to do it. But they're going to pay for that. So Wed says if you have well water out there, that out at the ranch, yeah, out the ranch, the water is But here in Cedar Park is not bad water. You know, I mean, it's not like Austin. Austin water tastes like I don't know, man. But if you're looking for a job, dude, wastewater treatment. That is one of the most wide open fields, and it pays pretty good, and nobody wants to do it. Because I was looking into that, going like, friend of mine sent me a link and said, "Hey, check this out." And and I'm like, I thought, man, this is crazy, dude. Like, there's nobody wanting to do this, and you could get full benefits and only work 4 days a week. Shit, yeah, dude. I mean, I'll do it. My mother used to work for a company that built them, so. But anyways,
that reminds me, I had a dream about a water treatment plant recently, which is a very weird thing for me to dream about. Weird. I'd totally forgotten about it until you mentioned that.
Dick Richards just showed up. We got to get out of here. And Anna's like, "Here's your ticket to America." Anna, are you offering to marry Dick Richards? Are you going to do it right here on the PRT show or the Random Files or what? Dun, 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 dun,
Where's my veil?
The gold instead of the Golden Bachelor, it's the Para Bachelor. He's kind of a bachelor.
Yes, we're in a para relationship.
Yeah, we want Richard to come. Richard, he'd be a valuable asset to, but then he kind of looks like an axe murderer too. Richard, are you there? Throw him a link real quick. We're going to leave, but I just want everybody to see how crazy he looks.
I mean, that's what makes him attractive, though. Like,
yeah, he's the Bundy. The Bundy.
Yeah,
the Bundy. Right.
The Bundy, the Dahmer look, whatever.
Stare.
Yeah.
He's got that crazy look, wild look in his eyes.
They're like, oh, this guy looks like he'd cut my head off. I got to know him.
That's hot.
That's hot. So next week we got to try to get a friend of mine on. He's a wrestling promoter. I'm going to talk to him. And he is one of those megas, right? He's a great guy, a true conservative Christian right-wing guy. We're going to get him on the show hopefully next week on Random Files Real Rumble, and we're going to let him give us his reasons why he believes the way he does. Right? I would love to just hear what he has to say. Come on, Richard. Don't be shy. Jump on here. Anna says she's got a ticket to paradise for you.
She said she has a stepdaughter his age that she can fix him up with.
There you go. That's even better. Now it's not totally weird. You know? 2 tickets to paradise. Oh, there he is. Let's see.
As long as your stepdaughter doesn't believe in space or doesn't believe that anything is real, ever.
The world is flat.
It'll be great, and they'll get along.
What else does he believe?
Total NPC.
Total NPC.
That
exactly.
Nothing ever happens and nothing is real.
Yeah, he's very
and that everything's a scam, which I can kind of relate.
Dark and brooding. There he is. What's up, Richard?
Everything is fake and gay.
Fake and gay.
There it is.
GHEY.
I mean, that part's true. Everything is fake and gay. I will agree with you on that.
What happened to your face, dude? It's so red and messed up.
Yeah, I got sunburned today out on the boat. I got sunburnt like crazy.
So, what were you doing out on the boat? Were you throwing somebody overboard?
No, I was at my aunt. I'm at my aunt and uncle's house up in North.
He answers it.
Oh, no.
No, not this time.
This isn't Tuesday.
Yeah.
This isn't a
Nobody
Tuesday.
you guys knew.
Yeah.
Up there in Canada.
Nobody important.
Nobody
so does
important.
It really count?
So, Richard, you got a healthy tan. We'll pretend like that's a tan, right? We'll be nice. Okay. So, what do you think about Anna's stepdaughter? You think
She's
about
beautiful.
You haven't even met her. You've never even seen her.
I love her.
He's like Scorpion. I love her, dude. That's my friend Scorpion's favorite line. Every girlfriend he ever had, I'm like, where did you meet her at? Well, it was pretty magical. She rubbed up against me on the bus, and well, we're getting married. It's been 2 hours.
She touched my leg.
She touched my leg.
She
I love
looked
her,
at me.
dude.
Yeah, she looked in my direction.
My brother says, you look like you got stung by a swarm of bees.
I know I am crazy. Like I'm puffed up to the max here. I got a bad sunburn.
Dude, you are not supposed to be a white dude out on a boat like that for that long. What are you doing? Unless you got some kind of Algonquin we don't know about in here. What are you doing?
I'm telling
Dana,
you, man,
thank you for that donation. Look, Dana, the only one giving us money. That's so sweet. I love her now. I love her, dude. But no, we had BMR jump in earlier. He gave us $2. Good old Boomer. I like BMR. He's a good guy. So, tell us what do you think about the space program, real quick before we boot you off.
It's fake and gay.
No. The secret space program, not
We're
NASA.
talking about the secret one.
We're talking about the real one, dude. The
It
real
ain't a
one.
freaking secret anymore.
Okay, but that's the real one. Okay, is that one fake and gay, or is it like fake and straight, or is it
Okay,
real and
are
gay,
we-
or is it real and straight? What is it?
Are we talking that they're going up into outer space and that they're landing on other planets?
So far we're talking.
Nobody said that.
So far we're talking about like the range that we've discussed is that they have a fleet that goes that has like a base on the dark side of the moon. Like that's the range that we've talked about so far. Is
I
that
don't believe you can land on plasma, and I believe the moon is made of plasma.
What
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
the freaking?
Yeah, me either.
I haven't heard
this,
that, Richard,
space
of
theory is not fake and gay. It's like demi-curious or one of those things.
And look,
Yeah,
Paranormal
that's a-
Oz says it too. Oz has been on the show a few times on the Mondays. He's the Australian version of Richard. He's kind of psychotic looking. He's like, yeah, mate. He's got the knife from Wolf Creek. You know, mate.
He
It's
drinks
all
on the
fucking
bus.
guy. He drinks on. He does. It's all fucking guy, mate. Phoning gangs till someone's head pops off. I'm like, okay.
I know the guy kills an entire 40 by his trip home.
I like him, dude. We have a cool cast of
Yeah.
characters right there. We do. We really do. But so Anna, apparently Master Richard doesn't believe that the space program even exists. He thinks it's all just fake and
Hey, what I believe is that they have those TR3Bs and that they have all this advanced technology that they're hiding from us and they're using to manipulate this, that, and the other thing. Do I believe they can get to other planets? No, not for a second.
Interesting.
I believe
No,
that
okay,
Saturn.
all right. I
I
believe
believe
they
that
could.
Saturn's the only planet with shape and form. I think the rest of them are all just lights in the sky.
Oh, that's an interesting. See, now I got to say, when we did the show with Takayasha, her and Sean, and you were on there, and I think Abe was on there, and we were all going around the horn. You had said something interesting on there about, or you remember Takayasha saying something about Saturn reflecting off the moon. That's something that you and I had talked about personally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird phenomenon. I think that's where part of the lunacy thing comes in.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, it
it's-
really does have a measurable effect. I will say that the whole lunar thing.
Well, Anna, what a lot of people don't know is that me and Richard, we did a series of interviews of people who had alien abduction scenarios, and there were 148 of them, and every one of them, Richard told them, "You're lying. It's fake and it's gay." And
They didn't take you to another planet.
so we actually didn't get to interview a single one of these people because his standards were so high, they were so fake and gay high that we couldn't.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get one witness. I said, finally, after the 148th, I said, Richard, we got to have at least one of these people. He goes, well, that's fine. Then unfriend me.
Yeah, they're all liars.
They're all liars. He
Yeah.
stuck by his principle. He said that no way that they were on the planet Zorlon. No way.
They're all on
And I
track.
said, let them say what they're going to say. It doesn't matter. It's good entertainment. He says, you know what? You're starting to piss me off. And that's when he told me, he says, if I ever find out that you're a werewolf, I'm going to stake you.
I did promise to stake you if you were a werewolf. Yes.
That's when I told him the staking is for vampires, not werewolves. So he shows you what you know.
To find out, I'd be kind of pumped to find out you were a werewolf. First of all, I could see that, and
Don't
secondly,
say that. You got this
No, in a
psycho over
good
here
way. In a good way.
vowing to kill me if I am.
Yeah, don't stake him though, please.
Hey, what is it?
I can't do the show by myself, so
Exactly.
and I kind of like him as a friend, so please don't stake
And what if I was one of the good ones that didn't want to be one, but because he found out that he was, hypothetically, he started a show to try to get to the bottom of it,
Exactly.
One of the good-
to help
Yeah.
humanity.
Yes.
One of the good werewolves.
Not that there's good. I'm saying, like, if you became one against your will, you did not want to,
It's
and
like
you
a
controlled
topic,
it. You
though.
controlled it. Yeah,
It's
exactly.
my favorite topic, and it's what originally led me to you was listening to you tell everybody's stories about it and your own story about it. So it's kind of yeah.
Don't get excited, Richard. The story I told about what I saw, not about being one.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of fake and gay, your audio is like echoing bad, Richard.
Yeah, you got an echoing
and
audio.
I think you're the only one. Like the audience can hear it, but I don't know like if your setup's a little bit different on your end or what. But
I'm like 6 hours up north right now, and it's pretty terrible reception here.
Exactly.
because it's like an immediate echo double speak whenever you talk.
Pretty fake.
Law Morgan said a werewolf. That's like a werewolf. That's very true. You are very aware.
Exactly. See, I got you, Richard. I'm going to confess. I am aware. Wolf.
Yeah.
My name is Wolf,
I'm a
and I'm
werewolf.
very aware.
I see
Very
what you
awake.
did there.
I'm an awake wolf.
I see what you did there.
Because, you know, Anna, we were all about Richard coming and hanging out with us and going to the ranch. And, you know,
Yeah.
you could hang out with Dee and Loki out there at the ranch. But then he said, well, if I found out you're a werewolf, I'd stake you. And I'm like, what? So what if he just believes this in his wacky mind and he does something to me in my
Stake you
sleep?
and cut your head off, I believe I said.
Oh, my gosh. That'd be insane to let this guy come around me.
Well,
That's
plot
crazy.
twist. I'm actually the werewolf. Are you going to stake me?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You looked
Yeah.
a little too happy saying
How
that.
would
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
How could you? Do you have a test you do for that though? What do you do? What is the test?
I have to see you turn into a werewolf.
Oh, well, you're never going to see that. That's not going to happen.
I'm
See, me
suddenly
and Anna
picturing
breathe a sigh of
putting on
relief. We're like,
putting on a mask and pause like in that movie Creep. Have you seen that?
that's it. I'll tell you what. This is a weird one. I have a story that I'm going to be talking about, and it's somebody's encounter that they had, and it's called the Werewolf's Mask. But it's not what you think it is, and it's a ghost story that's going to be out. That one I was talking about with Anthony and Nelly, Scorpion and Nelly earlier. But it's a weird story, and it's a ghost encounter. It's weird. But somebody told me that story, and when and I jumped when I saw that. I was, you look for those. If you want to send me a story on the email, just you send a heading because you want it to catch my attention and stand out from the other ones. Give me a good title, because it says on there the werewolf mask, and so I jumped on it, and it was weird when I started reading her encounter. It was actually a ghost story. So I was like, oh wow, that's incredible. So it's pretty cool. It's unusual. It's not the norm. The normal stuff. Thank you, Mystical Wonderland, for that donation. Thank you, Amy Creel. Amy Creel, who broke my heart. You know how she broke my heart? Because she named all of these other YouTubers that had touched her life and left me out.
Oh.
It's a shame. If I was a Rougarou, Amy, I'd be knocking on your door. And Richard wouldn't be there to stake me either. Or would he? Okay, well, you look very sunburned, my friend. I'm going to bounce. I'm going to get out of here. Take care of that. Aloe vera. Is your whole body burned or just your face? Did you wear
Oh
the...
yeah, I got roasted today.
Yeah, as I'm figuring you probably didn't wear a hoodie out there. How hot is it up there in Canada?
It's freaking hot out here, man.
How much? How hot?
I don't know, 30 some degrees, centigrade.
Speak English, dude. Like, what is that? We don't know what that is. Well, I do, but the audience doesn't. Tell them.
Your guy's ridiculous Fahrenheit scale doesn't make any sense. Every degree above freezing is 1. Every degree below freezing is -1. It makes perfect sense.
So it's like 80 degrees up there and you're bitching?
The sun's hot. They're chemtrailing like crazy and
The sun's
forming
hot.
that reflective beam that beams it
Oh,
down like a freaking laser.
Dude,
They're-
no. You are not wrong. Today I got out and I got gas and I felt the cool breeze. It was 101 in the shade. And I was like, this isn't too bad. And then when I stepped to the pump and it was like beaming on my face, I was
Yeah.
like, good God, dude. It felt like it was graping my face. And I was like, this is horrible.
Yeah. It's been getting up to about 105 in my area.
It was only 101 here. You need to get
And
the
the
hell out of
AC
there.
was out
But there's
sometime.
a heat depression up there in the west right now, from Washington all the way down. Yeah, so it's like they say it's like a heat dome. So enjoy
Tell
that
me about
pressure
it.
cooker. Yeah, it's bad,
Yeah,
and
tell
it's
me
going to
about
get.
it. I'm in the heat dome. Yep.
Good
I'm
God.
so happy the AC's fixed. You have no idea.
And
Do
Pete
they still-
Pachura hit the nail on the head. He said Canada is just wrong. It is.
Are you guys still smoked out with those forest fires that started all at the same hour on the same
Dude.
day in the straight
Yeah,
line?
wait, are
We're
you
getting
asking me here
the
or him?
sand too from every year from the Sahara. It comes in this time and it blows into our eyes. And I'm like, oh, cool. They're sharing their culture with us in more ways than one. I'm culturally afflicted in my eyes. I go outside and I'm like, God dang, my eyes. And so there was this lady in line the other day, and she's like, I heard that they're blowing sand from, and she was a black lady too. She was real funny. She goes, they're blowing sand from Africa. She's like, this is one more reason I don't want to go. She's like, every year this happens. And she goes, do you know that's what happened? I just looked right at me because my eyes were burning. I said, yeah, I know. It's from Africa. And she's like, well, don't look at me. I'm not from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this happens every year. And then the forest fires, I guess. Anna, weren't you in Colorado when it happened the last time?
I don't know. We had a ton of forest fires when I was there, though. I mean, all throughout the years, but it's only been increasing. But yeah, we're surrounded here right now. There's some huge ones in Oregon, and then there's a bunch in Idaho itself, which is where I am. But even throughout this whole show, like my eyes have been burning more and more as it goes. I'm sure people saw me put in eye drops. That's why. But yeah,
I thought
just
you were
for
dosing
weeks
with
now.
whatever.
It's just because I got super, for the show.
You
I
look at
don't.
her pupils.
Yeah.
We
Hi,
just thought you were
guys.
microdosing. We didn't know what you were doing. I don't have control over her.
I just start staring at everyone like Ted Bundy. Do you guys see the dragons too?
Oh shoot.
Um,
Oh, you know what? Actually, I started watching this with Scorpion last night, right? Because I'm unemployed right now, so you'd be shocked at how much TV you could actually catch up on when you're not working every day, other than the shows, And so I started watching the Game of Thrones House of the Dragon.
That's what we're watching here. Too.
Yeah, dude, it's actually not bad. The first episode, I was like, ugh, and I looked over, Scorpion's over there, and he's just like, we didn't really like it. So we decided, you know what, let's watch one more. So watch one more. Nellie came down. She sat there for a little bit and kind of got bored with it and was like, I don't know about this. And so I told her, I said, I'm going to give it one more shot. After the second episode, I decided it was cool because then they showed Dragon's Keep. And that kind of sold me. I was like, oh, okay. So now we can go back in the history of it. And I'm not real big on fake history or fake anything, but that is actually pretty cool because I like the LOTR history stuff. So this is kind of, and Martin admittedly was, influenced by LOTR. So I thought this is interesting.
yeah.
So
You mean J.R. Tolkien? That was the
magician.
he was a magician, but he was also the lineage keeper for the elites, and wrote everything down in mythology.
Yeah, we've talked about this before.
Yeah,
And so Tolkien actually was using code.
yeah.
He was talking in code, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the different ages were not, and it actually goes way back, right? The reason this is called Middle Earth too is because of the ice wall, the Middle Earth, yes, and then the outside. You and I, Richard, have talked about that. Yeah, very interesting stuff. He was the myth keeper, the presenter or whatever of the myths. But that's the weird thing is that it may not be. I've always believed that LOTR, and I went down the same rabbit hole you did, that it was real.
Yeah.
And these creatures like these orcs, the Orcai and all this different type of stuff was the genetic tampering. And those were the monkey people that were here, right?
The monkey people or the Nephilim pigmen?
Both.
Yeah.
They all got thrown together. And then you mashed them all together. And you notice how Tolkien makes an exception between goblins and orcs. There's ones inside the earth and then the ones that run around in the forest. Yeah, dude. Yeah, exactly. They come from within the earth. Now, people made the mistake of thinking that when they came up from out within the earth, that they were coming out of the dirt. He's talking about them coming from up within the earth.
Yeah.
And then they have
Inner
like a
Earth is-
fractal soul.
Inner Earth is another one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely huge cavernous areas where there's life down there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Earth looks like the Bible says it does, with all the big caverns and shale and all that stuff underneath it.
I do too.
I truly believe that. Yeah.
Look at that. Debbie says, I'd be interested in a show about Tolkien. Oh, I could do one. Me and Richard could definitely do one.
That'd be awesome.
you guys
Anna, you
should.
can't be, you don't know shit about it. You
I
can't
know,
do
I won't know.
it. You can just get out of it.
And also, on that note, there's a certain billionaire obsessed with Lord of the Rings that
Oh, yeah.
would be interesting to talk about. Certain
Mhm.
Mr. Teal.
Yeah.
The
Interesting
reptile?
stuff. Do what?
The reptile?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, calling him a reptile is like saying a Mustang is a car. They're all cars, right?
Well, Peter Thiel is an anagram for the reptile.
Yeah, the reptile. Yeah, but saying that he's a reptilian. Oh, yeah, I get it. But still, they're all reptilians. Like they were. Mark Cuban was talking the other day, and somebody slowed the video down and it showed his face like kind of morph, and I'm like, what a shock.
So
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and then he was admitting that he's not Cuban. That he's actually, 6 points, and I'm like, no shit. Like, who didn't know this already? You own sports teams. There's only like 4 owners that aren't. And even they're
many
probably the
royal
worst
families. So many royal and elite families the world over throughout time have used the dragon as their symbol. Kind of makes you wonder why.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about the guy who sent the swab from his Gila monster into 23andMe and it came back as 53% of a certain tribe?
Yeah. Yeah.
What? No, I didn't hear about
No,
that.
he's not lying. And then they
didn't.
downplayed it though. They downplayed it really bad. Yeah. And then there was one guy that did a you know what test. I'm not going to get my algorithms hurt here, but he swabbed a yam. He did, and he sent
Did
it
it
in,
come
and they
back
said,
as
"Oh,
certain tribes?
you're positive. You
Oh
have."
man, I bet Elizabeth Warren was jealous. She got beat out by a yam.
No. This is the vid test.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the like 20.
He literally showed himself on Instagram swabbing it with a yam, and it said that he was positive for
Oh,
it.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking
He
The
about.
made a
guy went
video.
into the Czechoslovakian guy went into the EU Parliament and did the Coke can, and then he did the VW bug tire, and both of them came back positive too.
Yep.
We'll talk about that tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
and Richard, if you want to join us tomorrow on Rumble, you're more
That'd
than
be
welcome
awesome.
to. Yeah, come on.
Sure.
You can join us, and my lovely co-host Anna will be there. My lovely co-host Richard with his red pimple head looks like he's
I'll
about to
put some
pop his-
cream on.
We're gonna make this guy put cream on. He comes looking like Dennis from what is it called? Where he's like the last season was it? Phil Always Sunny, and he has a tape on his face like this.
Dennis, he's my favorite
And they're
character.
calling him old. He's like, these people are obviously ignorant. They don't know. I'm not old. Like, what's wrong with this old guy? They kept saying it's. When I think about that show, like I think about Charlie, I think about like Richard. You're like a smart Charlie. That's what I
Thank
think of you. But kind of with the psychoticness of Dennis. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. But
little mix mash.
yeah, exactly. Thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to everybody who showed up. I really got to run. Thank you to Anna for coming on and being the co-host. We're gonna make this work. Eventually, it's gonna get big. You watch. It's gonna be very, very big. It's gonna be big.
It's gonna
You
be
guys
great.
do a great
I have
show.
a good feeling about it. Thank you.
Oh, here goes Debbie. Debbie says, "Dick, bathe in aloe vera. Advice from someone who burns from 20 minutes outside." Poor Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate it. Huh?
Yeah. And Scorp's like, they called him an old vampire. They did. They absolutely did. That's the person, if you want to know about vampires, that guy knows a lot about the lore. Scorpion. But he looks at it from a very negative perspective because he thinks that they're evil, which they are. I don't like this whole glamorizing and, making these entities and creatures something that they're not, which is good. They're not good.
Yeah.
Like What We Do in the Shadows, that's funny.
That's
Yeah,
a funny
Bram
show.
Stoker's Dracula is the best movie ever. I think it's a pure documentary. I really do.
Yeah. I watched the new Dracula where they did a little bit of different nuances or whatever. Yeah, it was almost at times I thought it was almost like a comedy. I was like, are they being serious? I thought it was kind of a comedy, but no, it was serious. And I was like, I didn't like it.
Makes me think of Elizabeth Bathory and everything she did.
Mm-hmm. That's the woman of Dick's dreams right there.
I am uncomfortable.
Richard's like, I don't know what he's talking about.
My dad may come from England, but we don't drink blood.
Yeah, we don't know that.
You
There's
said,
no proof whether you do or don't.
you said that so flatly.
You could be the one that needs to be staked, Richard. We don't know. How do we know you're not a vampire? And the redness, you're like, oh, okay. You chewed on someone's adrenaline gland, adrenochrome?
I just got done drinking adrenochrome. Yes.
See, exactly. He's like an old mummy. Like he floats over there. Oh, my friend, so YouTube.
The only
And
time I
then he's like
smile.
all red. Oh, I just got sunburn. That's it. What's wrong with your accent? I don't have one. I'm not. It becomes like a young guy right in front of you, like a tomato.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta get out of here. I'm having too much fun. All right, guys.
It's
We
a
love
long
you.
one
We'll
today.
see you.
Whoa, it's been almost 3 hours. Crazy.
3 hours. Look at that. See what you did, Anna? You kept
Yeah.
it going with your nonsense and your
No,
talkie.
I'm just so charismatic. What can I say?
Then we ended up with Ted Bundy on the show too. All right, guys. We love you guys. Anna, we love you. Dick, we love you.
Love
Great
you
guy.
too.
You too.
Yeah. We'll see
Love
you. God bless.
everybody. Have a
Good night.
Good night, guys. Love you.
Good night. Good to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Tell your stepbrother to hit me up.
Yeah,
Talking to Anna?
okay.
Oh,
Hit 'em
Ona.
up.
Ona. You're talking about Ona Pettigo.
Ona.
That's who it is. Anna would never pimp her stepdaughter out to you. And
Ona. I
Ona's being nice. Ona's just joking with you. Don't take it serious. She doesn't want you here. She knows you're a derelict.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. We love you.
Fun one. Bye, guys.
All right.